My headphones.
I sent it back. And we're live. We're still working on the smoke effect. He did a beautiful smoke effect, and the screen wasn't up, so
that's right.
It is what it is. We're live. I'm Jeremy Scott Gibbs. This is my brain.
Yes.
And the earwig tickling my brain, as usual, Mr. Tony Bradley. And we're ready to go. How we sounding, Nate? We 5x5? Almost. He's checking the. What are you checking? Oh, he's going to do an adjustment. There it is. Okay, I don't want to touch the microphones. Make sure we're good to go. Hands off. Don't do it.
I ain't touching it.
Because we can get loud.
That's right.
All right, there we go. And we got some people in chat.
Yep.
On both different channels.
Yep.
Sweet.
Disclaimer. Notice this place is politically incorrect. We say Merry Christmas, one nation under God. We salute our flag and give thanks to our troops. If this offends you, leave.
There you go. And we also enjoy adult beverages.
That's right.
And we cuss every once in a while. Look at that.
You gotta pour some, man.
I do. Here it is.
Oh, hey.
Brand
we already
new
got
bottle, buddy.
Action in the chat, man. Candy says, hi, guys. Kenna says, hi, guys. Hi, Candy. Hi, Kenna. How are you guys doing tonight?
Absolutely. Love to have the gals join us.
Say we cheers that, right?
Absolutely. Let me put the lid back on and make sure that's lit up because we want DiSerrano to sponsor us at some
that
point.
And Markham.
Yeah,
cheers,
exactly.
Bro.
Cheers.
It's so good.
Man.
By the way, thank you for an incredible dinner of beef tips and noodles tonight because that was awesome.
Absolutely. That will be one of the meals that I want to cook for this Food in the Spirit when Bill gets out and we start launching that show.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to do a Food in the Spirit. That's going to be pretty badass.
Yeah, I talked to him a couple of days ago for about 15, 20 minutes, and man, it was so good to hear him and just converse like we used to do all the time.
Yep.
And he's like, hey, man, 63 days and a wake up. And I'm like, brother, you are home.
I got a text from him. I got somebody in chat. I love it. Hey, Tim, good to hear from you, brother. He sent me a text before the show tonight, about an hour before.
Nice.
And said, podcast tonight. And I said, yes, sir, 8 p.m. We're going to tear it up. And I told him I'd text him more later. But
and you guys will meet him.
Yeah, that was a good point.
That's right. You like that?
You'll meet Bill. We had.
Should I go to this one?
Now you can do yours.
You guys will meet him.
Yeah, you guys. So you guys are going to meet him and a lot of other people too. Up to this point, the episodes have been you and me.
Yeah.
Which is nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But we've got a ton of other people in our lives, and that's really what I wanted to focus on tonight. We talked about a couple different issues or a couple different topics that we wanted to get into.
Absolutely.
And there's some people that I want to get into some topics when there's some other people joining us. Yeah. And it just didn't work out tonight for a couple people to join us, and that's fine.
And we still got some people out of state that are trying to get this way so we can go through and bring them on the show and talk about stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, I got my buddy Matt.
Yep.
I want him to come sit down with us because he's got a pretty incredible story. We've got, of course, James is going to join us. We tried to get him in here to do a pre-recorded one. We tried to get him in here to do tonight, but he had friends come in from out of town.
Yeah.
And so he just couldn't break free. You got it. I mean, your friends.
Those guys were great, man. We got to meet them, eat dinner with them and stuff.
Yeah, they enjoyed the beef tips, and so. But because we were going to do some stuff with James and some other people, I thought, what do I really want to talk about? And of course, I always bounce off the Lord. I'm like, Lord, what do I want to talk about? He's talking about family.
Right.
How important family and friends and those connections are.
Oh, huge. And I mean, that's the thing is, you've got your blood family. And I think on one of the love series that we were talking about, Nate said it best. Just because, your blood, that makes you related, but loyalty makes you family. And there's many different incarnations of what family actually is.
Absolutely.
But, making that statement hit the nail right on the head, because you can have family that really isn't family. There's some Joe Schmo.
Well, again, I think we talked about it in a couple of different episodes. We talked about where the phrase, they say blood is thicker than water.
Right.
And the phrase was always, I heard it and they're like, well, blood is thicker than water. We're blood relatives, so blood is thicker than water. And I go, then what's the water mean? What does it mean to have the water? What is that? And they would go, oh, well, and I go, dude, do you know what it actually means? It means blood is thicker than water. It means that a blood covenant where they would literally do a blood covenant, they would cut their hand.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they would shake on it.
Right.
And it would commingle the blood. That was the blood. And it was thicker than the water of the amniotic fluid that came out of the birth canal.
Right.
So it was saying that a blood covenant is thicker and more heavily weighted and more important than the birth canal that you came out of, because you could be born into any type of family, right? Good, bad, ugly, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
But when you are born into, or when you connect with people and that covenant, that connection is real, that's a totally different story. And so that's huge. That's what we're talking about, is blood is thicker than water, the blood covenant that we have. And you and I have never cut blood, but we've had blood, sweat, and tears in the same hole, in the same blood. So, that's what it makes. A lot of stuff going on in chat. What do you got going on over there?
The fact that, you've got the scar after you've made the blood covenant with each other to remind you, this is my literal blood brother.
Yeah.
Because, here's the scar in my hand that you can see.
Exactly. Every time there was a covenant cut, and it's literally, they would say, and people don't even realize that when they're in church, they're like, well, they cut a covenant.
Right.
And they don't even, it doesn't even occur to them what that means to cut a covenant. They literally cut themselves,
Yeah.
commingling of the blood. So every time there was a cut on their hand, that meant that they had a covenant relationship with somebody.
Right.
What are you looking up?
I'm looking up the definition like we've done in the past.
That's we always got it. You always got. Remember we talked about this before in episodes. You've always got to go back to critical thinking, and you're talking about grammar, rhetoric, or grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Your
Right.
grammar, you got to define it. Your logic, you got to work through the contradictions between your definitions. Meaning, if you got two different things and you're trying to make them work together, you got to work that. And then the rhetoric is the explanation of it.
Right.
And so you've always got to go grammar, logic, rhetoric. So that's critical thinking.
So the definition on Webster's dictionary, the first two are nouns, and it's a group consisting of parents and children living together in a household. The second one is all the descendants of a common ancestry. And the third one is an adjective designed to be suitable for children as well as adults. And then there's more definitions down here if I can get my phone to work.
And you on the modern Webster's?
Yeah, I'm on the modern Webster's.
Okay.
The third definition is a group of related things. The next part of it is all languages ultimately derived from a particular early language regarded as a group. And in mathematics, the definition is a group of curves or surfaces obtained by varying the value of a constant in the equation generated with them. And then, there's one of the definitions is phrases in the family way, pregnant.
Right.
And then it's got the different origins, Latin, familia, familius, and then the Middle East, or late Middle English, sorry, is family, which is where we get our version from. But
Right.
that's interesting that, Latin is familia, because I immediately think of like the Italians and some of the Sicilians and whatnot. You're familia.
Yeah.
And that's how they greet each other.
Absolutely.
With a lot of those
That's the connections.
those etiquettes and those cultures, but
Absolutely.
it's incredibly important.
So that was Webster's Modern?
Yeah, that was
Okay,
Webster's
this is
Modern.
Webster's 1828. And I want you to reread the first one again. Read the first one, and I'm going to contrast it with Webster's 1828. Go ahead.
This is a group consisting of parents and children living together in a household.
Okay, that's real similar. So this one's Webster's 1828. The collective body of persons who live in one house and under one head or manager. A household, including parents, children, servants, as the case may be, lodgers or boarders. So they included everybody. And
Yeah.
here's the thing. The number 2 definition, those who descend from one common progenitor, a tribe or race, kindred, lineage. Thus, the Israelites were a branch of the family of Abraham,
Right.
and the descendants of Reuben and Manasseh, etc. Reuben, Jacob, and everybody.
Yeah.
The 12 tribes, and who were called families. The whole human race are called the family of Adam, the human family, and then it goes on from there. But getting to the idea, it's not just the blood relatives.
Right.
It's the collective. It's the group that's together. Excuse me, my Di-Serrano's coming.
And
Actually,
they-
that was some beef tips. That was good stuff.
Yeah, it tastes great coming up the second time. But no, the interesting part that is it, and I understand what they're getting at is tribe, but that has come up a lot in our conversations in the correct context of what tribe actually means. It
Right.
means you're part of something bigger than yourself.
Right.
And you're sticking together for survival.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's one definition. Go look it up. Nate's pulling it up.
He's pulling up on there. Nice.
Yeah, pull up that definition real quick so they can actually see it, Nate.
Well, hold on. I need to pull this screen back across it.
Okay. Oh, so they were still seeing us.
Yeah, they're still seeing us.
Our monitor over here popped up that Nate was looking something up. It went to our monitor. So.
Right. But yeah, I mean, it's always interesting when you establish the foundation. That
Right.
way, people go, well, that's not the definition that I learned. Well,
Right.
if you
got to go back to the definitions. That's the things you always got to
Right.
go back to definitions.
well, and how many different, I look at the 1823 Webster's Dictionary.
Yeah.
There was 4 or 5 different long drawn out sections just for the definition of love.
Absolutely.
Intimacy, vulnerability, all those
Yeah.
things that we discussed.
Oh yeah,
We-
tribe. Read that one, Tony.
It says a social division in traditional society consisting of families or communities linked by
Mike.
what linked? Oh, okay. By social, economic, religious, or blood ties with a common culture and dialect, typically having a recognized leader.
Yeah. Did they get all that? Because you were turned away from your microphone a little bit.
It's hard to read.
I know.
I'm behind.
It was a little smaller. You can
Well, but yeah, it's always interesting.
in the future,
Right.
the world.
In the year 2000.
So, but I want to focus on that word tribe too, because Nate pulled it up. But
Yeah.
you use that word quite frequently.
Yeah.
I don't use that word as frequently as you. Or let me say, I don't use it in common conversation except with you.
Right.
And the tribe, right?
Right.
But I'm part of that tribe.
Exactly.
And the interesting thing for me is you use that word appropriately.
Yeah,
And you've got a
absolutely.
tribe. But I've had that, and we talked about it a little bit on a couple other episodes, but I talk about tribe from the standpoint, or not talk about it, but I've been leery of the word tribe
Right.
because you get tribalism.
Of course.
Okay? If we go to a football game, you can have a football game, right? Local, high school, or college, or majors, right?
Yeah.
I think Ben was here the other day doing some editing beforehand, and Nate was wearing a University of Michigan shirt, and he says, "I'd like to talk to you, but you're gonna have to take that shirt off first." Because Ben's obviously at MSU, and it was like, there was a little bit of tension. And I go,
Right.
that's the type of tribal. Now they were joking around, having fun, but
course.
that's the tribalism that can become an impediment, because it's like,
Right.
well, what national team do you support? And you go, or it's racial,
Right.
right? So it could be sports teams, it could be racial,
Religion?
it could be from the town,
Oh,
right? You're from a
easy.
certain town, so the town over there. I remember growing up as a kid, we lived in Millington, and so we hated Vassar and Frankenmuth because they were these opposing towns that we needed, and I'm like, why do we not like these towns?
Yeah, we're all
well,
playing-
because we had, and it would go back to something that they did in football. In fact, I'm thinking of the story. You remember the story of the lady?
Yeah.
She would prepare the roast, and she would always cut the end off the roast, put it in the pan, and then put the other piece of the roast in there.
Right.
And they're like, why do you always, and finally one of the kids was like, why do you cut the end off the roast
Right.
and put it in the pan? And she's like, oh, well, I've always done that. Well, the fact of the matter is, Grandma, years before,
Right.
had too small of a to fit the full roast in there, so she had to cut the end off the roast because the damn thing wouldn't fit in the pan. So she cuts the end off, and I think of all the times that people that I know and have been around that have done these traditions. Well, I'm from this city, so you're less
Right.
than me. And I go,
Right.
that's the type of tribalism that I want to avoid because
exactly.
it's toxic, because it's
Of course.
dangerous. It's like, listen, we talked about this in some other episodes too, that I'm Polish Czechoslovakian.
Right.
As well as some other stuff. I'm pretty much a mutt. Beautiful. One of the best looking mutts you've ever seen.
It's the
Anyways,
haircut.
It is the haircut. But we need to do some. We talked about doing the genealogies.
Oh,
We'll do some
absolutely.
genealogies, and then we'll come back and give everybody a report on it. Maybe that'll be a whole episode.
Dude.
Anyways, so talking about that, we're looking at being a tribe or community, right? And how that works out, how that looks to people, and it's like, I want to be a tribe with everybody,
Yeah.
but we're open to whoever else wants to come into the tribe.
Of course.
And we're accepting versus being the tribe that says, well, you're not from our town, or you're not from
Right.
our group, so you're
Right.
not the cliquey type of bullshit that we don't want to do. So when you use the word tribe, I go, that's the way to use it.
Absolutely.
When I've seen people use the word tribe, or I look at tribalism,
Right.
Well, you don't support you don't support my sports team, so we can't be friends. And I go, okay.
It's so frivolous when you look at that because there's some sort of initiation or probation period or something. I mean, I think, and no disrespect, I know a bunch of great friends of mine that are in motorcycle gangs, and they've done so much amazing stuff. They've done the ride for Toys for Tots, stuff like that. Incredible stuff. But when you talk about the version of tribe that we do, it's all inclusive.
Yeah.
And it's a constant reminder of, look, you're a part of something bigger. You're not alone going through the shit show we call life some days.
Yep.
And you can lean on your tribe when you need to because of all of this stuff that we all deal with and no one's talking about it. So we're suffering in silence.
Right.
And that's what I think is incredible about family.
Yeah.
With about, community, with about tribe, with, all of those interconnecting, very similar definitions.
Yeah.
But establishing family, I mean, it's huge. You know,
Exactly.
Both of us have very similar histories, and estranged fathers, if you will. We have the very strong female presence. You had your mom, and I had my grandmother. And it was incredible to grow up in that type of experience because we had obviously men of influence in our life
Absolutely.
that were positive to us, but never really had a positive male father role model until later in our lives.
Right.
And it's incredible to go, well, by societal standards, you're the male and you're the head of the household. By some of the old style, what's the word I'm looking for? Some of the old style social constructs, if you will, or like the 1950s "fathers knows best" type thing, which that's great and all and fine and dandy for television,
Right, but it's not reality.
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So just because you're born with a male or female birthright doesn't necessarily mean you're right all the time. You're right some of the time, and you work as a collective, part of a community, part of a family. That makes things that much easier to navigate day-to-day interactions and what have you. And I've always thought that's really interesting to, now that we're reestablishing the family definition.
Yeah.
To go, well, this is where you came from. Hey, that story is very similar to mine. Well, wow, this is where I came from. Oh, hey, that story is very similar to mine. In moving and then asking those questions of, hey, do you deal with this?
Right.
Well, yeah, I deal with that. Has anybody ever said that to you? No, just the first time somebody brought it up to me. And it's a lot of that, holy cow. There's somebody else that gets me.
Right.
Familia,
Familia,
tribe, family,
Absolutely.
community.
Absolutely.
That
Let's look at it from this standpoint. Family is about that connection. I like the definition from 1828, and they didn't alter it too much in the modern Webster.
Right.
But it's basically the people that are under one household, and we can take household and make it a general, a covering, not necessarily that everybody has to live in one household. Of course, you've lived with me
Yeah, it included servants, all kinds of
Yeah.
of people that you meet along the way. I mean, the perfect example. I look at the interactions that we had at the Gully Road house.
Yeah.
How many,
8,000 square foot house. We had 15 to 20 people at any given time living in there.
not including immediate family,
No, that was including immediate family.
was it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, they even at one point somebody said something and then it got goofy and they came in and said, "Well, don't you got kind of a cult going on here?" And I looked right at the lady and I was like, "Define cult." And she goes, and I was like, "Okay." I said, "Here's the definition of a cult.
Right.
Cult or occult,
Right.
OCCULT.
Yes.
Or cult, CULT.
Right.
Occult means to hide
Right.
or make obscure. Pull that definition up so I get it exactly right now, Nate. But occult, it means basically to cover something. It make it secret, make
Right.
it hidden,
Right.
right? You occult something. It's literally an adjective. It's not. They use cult as a noun, but it's literally an adjective.
Right.
It means to occult. Is he pulling that one up?
That's what I'm looking up right now.
Okay. Most of the time, we tell you guys to look these up yourselves because we want you to be well educated. There it is. Cult, right? A system of religious veneration or devotion. Right. Now, where does it have the root word occult? Go to occult.
This has got a couple of different ones.
What do you got?
Occult is supernatural, mystical, or magical belief, practices, or phenomenon. The adjective is of or involving or relating to supernatural, mystical, or magical powers or phenomenon.
All right. Yeah, that gets into
Here
the
we go.
goofy
Verb,
shit.
cut off from viewing by interposing something.
Yes, cut off from viewing. I'm going to look it up in the 1828.
And there's a couple other definitions that are here. I'm trying to pull these up because.
Occult. Yeah, right
Yeah.
here. Here's the 1828.
Okay.
Straight up. Hidden from the eye or understanding, invisible, secret, unknown, undiscovered, undetected, as of occult properties of matter. Occult science are magic, necromancy, occult lines in geometry as such as drawn on the compasses or pencil or scale. So it's the idea of hiding something,
When
right?
you look at the origin, the Latin says to hide, to conceal, to secret, and covered over. and this is all from the original Latin context. And look it up. Don't.
We're reading definitions so you guys have it, but the reality is
Right.
look it up yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Take
But-
the time to educate yourself.
So my
on this
point
stuff.
is, this lady's sitting across the table from me, and it was a situation.
Right.
I don't even go into, but they were coming to the house. They're like, "Well, we heard something happen." And I'm like, "Well, here's the person that is," and they're like, "No, that didn't happen." And I'm like, "Okay,
Right.
So whoever said this to you, because I can't stand CPS as far as that goes, because you have the right to face your accuser constitutionally, and these people think they can walk into your house and
Of course.
just make any accusation
Right.
because somebody made a phone call, and you go, "Wait a minute." No charge shall be brought against any citizen. It's in the Constitution unless
Right.
by a grand jury. Okay, and there's this whole process as you go through that you can't do this shit.
Right.
Anyways, so she says, "Well, we heard that there's a cult going on here." Because I'm holding church services and there's like 15 to 20 people. Because we would take in people. We would literally
Of
open the
course.
home in, right? During a Thursday night relationship study, we would have anywhere from 20 to 30 people. We'd have a big meal. We'd be there. And then we'd hold church services.
Absolutely.
Originally, we held church services at a facility.
Right.
And then we got to a certain point and we didn't want to renew our lease, didn't want to stay there. The lease the guy that was the building tried to double our lease.
Yeah.
And we're like, no. So we got out of there and we just held at the house. The house was 8,000 square feet. We had a huge great room.
Oh, that great room was awesome.
The great room we could seat 60 people in. We're like, well, why
Easy.
are we using another
Easy.
building when we can do it here? But this
Right.
lady, she's like, oh, we heard that this is a cult. And I'm like, give me the definition. She goes, like I said, and I'm like, okay. So I pulled it up. I'm like, occult, hidden from the eye, understanding, invisible. I'm like,
Right.
we broadcast
Live.
our Sunday morning services,
Right.
and our Thursday night services.
Right.
I do videos out of here all the time, and the doors open. There's people coming all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, what part of that is occultic? What part of that is hidden? We do everything out front. I have we have Facebook, we have YouTube, we have all this stuff.
Right.
People are being invited on a regular basis to come and join us for church services. What part of that is hidden or unseen? And she was like, well, and I'm like, lady, you need to get out of my house.
Bye-bye. See you later.
But so again, that what we're talking about is the connections that we have with people, and what it really means
Right.
to be connected. It's not just family.
Right.
It's the people you connect with. We've been, Tim texted in here and he says, who is my mother and my brother? My brother, Christ. It's the connection that we have, being brothers and sisters in Christ.
Right.
That's what should mean the most to us at the end of the day, because that's our connection point. And in fact, Jesus said, if you don't forsake your mother and father and your brother and leave everybody
Right.
for me,
Right.
you're not worthy of me. And most people don't understand that. He's
Right.
he's saying, look, don't let your natural connections
Right.
interfere with the more important connections in your life.
Right.
It's not saying that you just walk away from everything.
Of course.
But it's saying if that becomes an impediment
Yeah,
to
cut
your
it
purpose.
off.
And how many people, you know this and I know this, how many people do we know of that said, you know what, I had to get away from my family? They're a successful person. They're telling their story years later, and they go,
Right.
one of the things I had to do was get away from my family because they were toxic or they were detrimental to my purpose and destiny, what I needed to do.
I look at guys like Bart. It was so funny watching him and getting to know him as a person because, he had some issues. And it was so funny because after a couple of weeks of us being there for one of the summer stays that we were talking about, he got so protective with a vengeance with how if anybody else on the outside came in to this family, he would be the first person to tell them, this is my family. You're not just going to come in here and do what it is you're going to do. This is my family. This is my home.
Right.
And it's like, whoa, Bart, buddy, calm down.
Yep.
And it's like, no. This is my family. And, he protected that with a vengeance. I mean, he's done that with you. He's done that with Bill. He's done
Absolutely.
that with me. And I'm like, who's this cat?
Right. He got violent, militant
yeah.
sometimes, like in his protection.
Absolutely
Because,
militant.
we took him in.
Yeah.
But once he adopted us, once he realized these people
Right.
actually give a shit about me, okay,
Right. And
they
it's
actually love
real.
me, then he was like, wait a minute, okay, they cared about me, but now it's flipped,
Yeah.
and I'm caring about them. Once he adopted, he pissed some people off a couple of times because he didn't understand the dynamic,
Right.
Some people came in
Yeah.
that already had an with us, but hadn't been around.
Right.
And all of a sudden he's like, man, you need to watch yourself. And we're like, Bart.
It's okay, buddy.
But once we were in his heart, he was like,
Yeah.
these are my people.
Right.
We're doing this.
Absolutely.
He was a beautiful.
That's what's so funny about, when I look at the community and the tribe and the family that we've been able to build with, the Strange Friends Media family. People come in, whether it's the street team, whether it's, cast and crew. I mean, I look at, Nate. He's been with the company for what, 18 months now?
Yeah, what you guys said on the show the other night.
Yeah. And it's incredible because he's like, I love my job.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a free.
I thought it was beautiful what he said.
Yeah, absolutely.
He goes, look, you think about it being an unpaid intern, but the reality is, he goes, I get to do just this awesome opportunity. I get to come in and learn about all this stuff.
Right.
And I'm not getting paid. He's like, what do you mean I'm not getting paid? It's on the job experience that I couldn't get any other way.
Right.
And who would pay somebody to learn this?
Right.
There's very few jobs out there where you get paid to learn on the job.
Right.
You either have to go to a school or something like that to learn it. And so here's his opportunity. He was like, dude, I couldn't get this experience anyplace else, and I love it.
Right.
And I was like, dude, because I've always had a problem with the concept of interns, just because I come from the business world, right? And I want to pay people. Well, in this, especially with, the podcast and stuff like that, we can't.
Right.
You're starting from, it's just enough money to buy the equipment. It's just enough money to scrounge together the equipment and do what you need to do, let alone then start to pay people, we're setting up our store. We're getting that squared away.
Yeah.
But we're working on all that stuff, and Ben's working on that. Is setting up the storefront. We're gonna have some T-shirts. Some of the stuff, it's on me, right? Yeah. Okay. So a couple of these. So let me point to it there. So safe space. I create my own safe space. We're gonna do some heavy duty Second Amendment stuff. We're going to talk about that.
Absolutely.
And so some of the T-shirts that we're going to come up, that's one of the T-shirts we're going to do right there is I create my own safe space.
Yep.
Because in the date there, 12/15/1791, that's when they ratified the Bill of Rights, as we commonly call them. It's the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. And the Second Amendment, of course, enforces the First Amendment, but the Second Amendment is, the right to keep and bear arms, as well as a well-regulated militia.
Right.
And so that's up there as well, with Thomas Jefferson holding up an AR-15 up there, saying that
arms, chains, rights don't.
Arms, chains, rights don't. And then I love my one that says keep calm and carry. And actually, right next to the keep calm and carry, if you go straight, that one right there, I got my finger on it. That's one of my guns. That's my Q5 match. I love that one.
Is that the John Wick one?
That is the John Wick one. And actually, if I go this way, see that orange target right there?
Yeah.
The orange target, because I got to make sure I'm on the microphone. The orange target, the first time I walked into the shooting range and shot that, we have video. We should post that at some point.
Yeah, I saw that.
I shot dead center. I was like a half an inch below the dead X on my first shot with that gun. I love that gun. It's a beautiful gun. But we're going to get into all that stuff as well.
Absolutely.
But we've got a whole store that we're setting up to be supported. But my whole point is that somebody like Nate that volunteers and he's an intern, right? He's doing it for the experience aspect.
Right.
And in fact, a lot of degrees and stuff like that, they require you to go out and do so much field work. Schools used to do a lot of that.
Yeah.
They're starting to bring some of it back where you can do, when you get to junior or senior year, you can do a couple classes in school and then you can go out in the field and actually work. James did that. James did 2 years of construction.
Yeah.
And that's why he's 24 and my foreman getting paid the big bucks. But so we're setting up the store just so we can keep upgrading the equipment and get better stuff.
Absolutely.
So we don't have an echo. So that we've got, we can pay the intern, pay the editors, we've got right now between us, we've got Nate the intern, the awesome Asian.
Amazing.
The amazing Asian.
Amazing Asian.
The amazing Asian. And we've got, Ben, which is doing a phenomenal job on all the editing and stuff for us. And you'll see more of that because there's so much stuff in the pipeline that just needs to be, popped out. But it all comes back to the connection points.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's the thing is, one of the things that Nate brought up, he's like, look, you know, you can't get paid for this. There is no such thing as a fucking paycheck here. And I'm quoting him verbatim.
Right.
He said, look, why would you want to get paid for this? You get to go to events. You get to go to festivals. You get to meet people that you would never have the opportunity to meet on some random happenstance day. Connect up with these people, networking with these people, and some of them are doing some of the same things that we are.
Absolutely.
Just in a different vein. And he's like, dude, I want to go do an internship at the radio station.
Right.
Because I've got, 18 months of this experience doing this,
right.
Not for one show,
right,
but for 3 different shows of everything that we have going on.
Yeah.
With, Don't Make This Weird, Survivor Girl. He's the engineer on that show.
Absolutely.
He makes all of this stuff happen with the mics and the cameras and everything else. He does it on this show.
Yep.
We've also got Mitch's Fake Radio, but I mean, it's incredible.
There he is.
Speaking of the intern.
Speaking of the intern, coming over and constantly monitoring and checking everything. I love it.
But yeah, I mean, it's incredible to see that connection.
Absolutely.
Because when Nate came onto the scene, he was like,
green as the day is long. And
oh, yeah.
But just had a desire to be involved and said, what do you got going?
He was like, teach me. What do I got to do here?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, learn how to fold cables. And he's like, it's a shit job. I'm like, oh, you're right. It is the biggest shit job on the face of the planet. No one likes to do it. But once you learn that methodology, and I'm telling you, my personal studio has never been so spotless because
I'm pretty, you know me, I'm pretty anal about my cables. It's like,
and I'm so horrible with that.
Untwisting the lines constantly, and I'm rolling them up, and the way that I tie them,
absolutely,
so they don't. When you untime, you don't have this twist and shit all going on. Yeah, Nate was doing it. Give that overhead shot, Nate, and do your thing. There it is. There's the overhead shot. Yeah. Because not only is cables, microphone cables and headphone cables and stuff,
right?
But when you're on a job site, you can destroy an extension cord because you don't untwist it.
Good God!
Right? Because the insulation on the outside and the wires on the inside twist up together,
and then snap
untwist,
off.
And then next thing you know, you got a broken extension line. That's a hazard. I mean, there's literally, when I was taking my builder's class, they literally have to go through and tell us about that shit. Am I too hot still? Look at you, Nate.
He wants to be in camera.
He's just in Justin.
Hey,
I gave you a camera and a microphone. Say something. Put your microphone on and say something.
My microphone hasn't even been hot this whole time, dude. I've just been sitting over here silent.
I like it, but you were live.
That's all I do back here is just sit back here and work the cameras and make sure you guys sound right.
Yeah.
If you guys don't sound right, we don't have a show.
Exactly. Buddy.
See, and that's what I'm talking about.
That's the amazing Asian.
Amazing Asian.
Yeah.
So we got a couple more things in chat. Shelby chimed in and said, hi, guys. And then Candy just chimed in and said, love our Nate.
Love the Nate. Absolutely. And I'm being asked how many shows we have planned. There's no limit on the show.
There's no limit.
We're going to keep going. We're going to keep cranking them out. We recorded one last night, which was phenomenal.
That was a great
if you
show.
see, cut to Tony's shot, Nate.
Yeah.
No, cut to your shot.
Yeah, cut to your shot. It's over
there. It is.
There.
Okay, so over there, you can see it above the pool table on the wall. That's you can see just a glimpse. We're gonna have to do a shot so that he can go to.
Yeah.
But we have the 24 logical fallacies.
Yes.
And there's more than that, sometimes less than that, but right around that is a good number. And that's from one particular site. They do a really good job. I like the way they do it. Some of their examples can be a little lefty. Left a little, but that's fine. I just have to point that out to be annoying. But anyways.
And to going back to the topic of family, this is your brain. Expound on that. What is your conceptualization or ideology of what family is to you?
To me, family is pretty much along the same lines as what Webster's 28 says, and pretty much the modern Webster's. It's whoever's under your household, but I use that term broadly.
Absolutely.
And so there's a lot of people. I was listening to Joe Rogan the other day, and he's like, I call everybody brother.
Right.
Well, I don't call everybody brother.
Right.
There's some people that I call buddy.
Right.
But there's other people I'll text them. I'm like, hey, bro.
Right.
Other people I'm like, hey, buddy. And sometimes I'll just mix it up just to keep them on their toes, But either way, it takes a little bit for you to get into my circle.
Absolutely.
To be my brother or sister.
Right.
But once you're in, then you're in.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a lot for you to break that bond because we're all.
I know, I've tested it.
Yeah, he's tested. So, but we all have our idiosyncrasies and we all have our bents. We all have our issues.
Right.
And it's going to take you a little bit to really.
Find that ebb and flow.
Well, because I know what I've been forgiven of, and I know what I've been set free of by the
Absolutely.
Lord. And there's times when some people have done things, and I go, "What the hell? What a jerk!" Whatever
Right.
it is. And he goes, and he reminds me instantly. He'll have a memory and show me doing something stupid, and I'll go,
Right.
"Oh," and he'll go, "Maybe you ought to extend some grace and mercy because you're a dumbass too." And I go,
My bad.
yeah, maybe I should. But so for me, family is what I've come down to is you've got your circle of friends. Those are the people that you see on a regular basis or they're around, right? Those are your friends. But your family is the people that is consistently in your life that you're consistently connected with. That to me is family. And by consistency, I don't mean we have to see each other every day.
Right.
We went, 2 weeks from the last time you were up here?
Right around that time, yeah.
About 2 weeks before,
Yeah.
without communicating. Now, I jumped on the show and was in the chat,
Yeah.
but we went about 2 weeks without texting or phone calling. And I'm like, hey, bro, it's going to couple weeks.
Right.
What's up? How you doing?
Right,
Blah, blah,
right.
blah. And it wasn't a, why are you avoiding me? That bullshit. It was straight up, dude, hey, I haven't heard from you in a couple weeks. I got this date and this date where we can get together and do the show.
Yeah,
what are
absolutely.
we going to do? And you looked at your schedule. I looked at my schedule. And I said, you know what? Let's bump it up a week.
Yeah.
Let's do this. And every time you come down, we try to cram in as many shows as we can. So we recorded one last night, Logical Fallacy one. And we'll probably record a couple tomorrow before you head home.
Yeah.
So that we can get going, but we get the live show going. But to me, family is the people around you. And the reason that I'm really thinking about that, why it was in my brain, is because just before we went live at the show, literally, 20 minutes before we went live at the show,
Probably, yeah.
the last crew went out, which was my daughter,
Yep.
and Ray,
Little Hopi.
and my kids, and my grandkids,
Yeah.
Hopi and Silas, and just before that, James was here,
Yep.
with Caitlin, his beautiful wife. She's just a sweetheart.
Yeah, she is.
She's overconscious about her looks, and I'm like, I'm gonna put her on here, and everybody's gonna go, "Wow, who's that beautiful girl and her
Right,
husband?"
exactly.
It's like they're just beautiful people. Anyways, James, and of course, Lil Carson and Chloe.
James's mini me.
Yeah, he's just. They're gorgeous, but they got 3 friends in town.
Yeah.
And they were here. They were all playing pool and hanging out. We had a great meal. And I'm looking at, my man cave's full of just,
People.
they're full of my family.
Yes. Absolutely.
It takes you probably 2 or 3 visits based on the person.
Yep.
Before you get a full blown hug from that point on every time I see you, because you're in my heart now. We're going for it.
And I think the caveat that needs to be added there is it's a positive long-term engagement, because we've met over the course of our friendship over the years.
Yeah.
We've met some pretty toxic people,
Absolutely.
and they have systematically there's a bug flying around here, weeded themselves out because
I gotta say one thing.
Yeah, go
Nate
ahead.
got rid of the echo. Beautiful job, Nate.
Awesome, thank you, brother. But yeah, I
Hey
mean,
man, I do my job.
You do. You're an amazing Asian.
amazing,
You're welcome.
Asian.
Well, without me, there wouldn't really be much of a show now, would there?
Well,
This is right.
The Polak would persevere, but
But
You have
yeah,
a point.
I mean, they weeded themselves out because they did not want to make the change.
right.
They didn't want to move forward. They didn't want to mature. They didn't want to grow for whatever reason. But yet, every other person that was in our sphere of influence,
Yeah.
even when we were, having tension and conflict between us, we're
Right.
going, you guys are brothers. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
And pulled together as family
Absolutely.
should.
Absolutely.
And we've, grew and matured past all of that, because it was one of those things that you can only be negative for so long before you either, one, go, I should probably stop being a dickhead, or remove myself from the equation.
Right.
And then it bleeds over
Yeah.
to growing and maturing. And sometimes growth is kind of painful.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's why you have everybody talks about growing pains. It's literally that. I mean, it's
Right.
not the old TV show, but it's literally growing pains. You have growth plates.
Right.
In your various spots in your body where it's allowed to have that expansion point, but it's not always comfortable. It does bring pain,
Right.
But you still got to grow through that. And families, I love that. You're exactly right, Tony. Is we deal with people. You bring them into your circle. You accept them at face value.
Right.
You begin to learn who they are, and then at a certain point, it's like, are you going to grow?
Right.
Are you going to mature? Are you, or are you going to be toxic? And that's one thing that I don't have a tolerance for in my
Absolutely.
circle. I don't have a tolerance for people that are toxic, and I don't have a tolerance for people that refuse to grow.
Right.
In that environment, if you're growing, and I used to say this not only just in my circle, but in my church,
Right.
I would say, if you're trying to be better,
Right.
then you're going to stumble, you're going to fall, you're going to make mistakes,
Right.
and we're going to love you through it.
Absolutely.
But if you're just going to be an asshole in here, stinking up the place and making lots of noise, you're going to get booted. I
Yeah.
don't need it, and that's the reality of it.
Right.
It's like if you're moving forward,
Right.
then great. But
Right.
if you're going to be an impediment to what's going on,
Right.
I mean, even Jesus said that when he turned around and he says to, Peter, and I love that story because Peter's there,
Right.
and he gets this great revelation. And of course, he gets the revelation. He gets all puffed up, and he's
Of course.
he's like, "You're the Christ. You're the Son of God." And he goes,
Right.
"Hey, this is revealed to you. This didn't come to you. You were tapped into heaven, and you were listening to this." And Peter's like, "Yeah." And then the very next story, we got a little fruit fly flying around here. What the
He
hell?
needs to go away.
He's going after your wine.
Oh, hey.
Not my
See,
decent.
I'm going to have to cut him, man.
So, anyways, in the story, he goes, he says, in the very next, I don't know if it was the very next breath or how long it was, but in the
Right.
text, they're
Yeah.
back to back.
Yeah.
Right? The very next thing, Jesus starts saying, I'm going to go to the cross. I'm going to die. I'm going to be out of here. And Peter takes him aside and he begins to, literally in the text, he begins to rebuke him.
Right.
He's like, "No, Lord, this will not happen to you. Not so." like, listen, I got the great revelation, Jesus. I got you cut. Listen, I was listening to the Holy Spirit, and that don't jive with me. So listen, that's not going to happen. You ain't going to the cross. I don't even know what that means, but you're not going to have, this ain't going to happen to you. And he's like, and Jesus literally turns around him and he goes, "Get behind me, Satan."
Right, right.
And I go, if you just think about that phraseology, he's like, "Get behind me, Satan."
Right,
This is your bro.
right,
This is your buddy.
right.
This is your close confidant.
Right.
This is the man next to you, and you just said, "Get behind me." You labeled him as the incarnate of the enemy of God. That's what you just said. And literally, Satan in the text in the Greek means accuser or opposer. Pull that one up, Nate, real quick, so we have the correct definition.
It reminds me of that gift with Tracy Morgan, how he's like, "No, nope, nope, hell no." That's Peter.
I think of that scene in We Were Soldiers.
Yeah, yeah.
When they come up to tell her that her husband died in Vietnam.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The one black lady in there. I love her. And she goes, I'm like, dang, just the emotions she brings just cheers me up. But anyway, so with Peter, Jesus goes, "Get behind me, Satan."
Right. Right.
And he says, "You do not have the things of God in mind. You don't have it in your heart."
Right.
And it's amazing contrast. I know that the writer of that particular gospel put them together because he's like, on one hand, he's showing you the dichotomy that at one moment you can have divine revelation from on high.
Right.
Okay. And in the very next moment, you can be way the fuck out there and out on a limb and not get it right.
Yeah.
And so you've always got to come back to a place of balance to go, we used to use that phrase in church. They probably still use it, but you're so heavenly minded, you're no earthly good.
Right.
And I understand that. It's like,
What is
look,
that,
I can
Ecclesiastes that you quoted the one day?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ecclesiastes, chapter 7.
Yeah.
Chapter 7.
Yeah.
Where it says, "Don't be overly wise."
Right.
And destroy yourself, and don't be overly foolish and
Right.
and it gets to a point and it says, the end of that phraseology, it's not the end of the chapter, but the end of and chapters were made by men anyways, but it's a
Right.
dialogue. But the end of the phraseology is he says this is NIV's translation.
Right.
King James has a little bit different rendering, but the NIV says,
Look it up.
look it up. Did you pull? Oh, Satan, yeah. The Hebrew word Satan. No, what's the Greek word? I can't see it because the free ebook thing popped up.
Get that free EB crap out of
Go down, go down, go down, down. There it is. Pop it. Get out. Yeah. Okay. So the Old Testament.
Begone, Satan!
Satan. Scroll down for me.
Thank you, Lord.
Use
Not today, Satan!
use the wheel. Scroll down
Am I far enough, sir?
a little bit more. Thank you. In the New Testament, there it goes. In the New Testament, the word appears used interchangeably with Satan. Mark refers to Satan 5 times, never uses devil. Mark uses it 3 times, the former latter. The fourth gospel, in the one instance, Satan with the epistle of John. Okay, scroll down. Jesus drove out the prince of the world by the cross. Later, where's it at? And he says, I wanted just the... So they're telling me how it's used. Okay.
Well, see, also it says
Yeah.
demon, evil, and sin.
Yeah. Well, those are parallels, but
Right.
Satan literally means it's like the accuser, not the accuser of brethren, but the adversary, and that's literally what Jesus was talking about. Was he was saying, "Get behind me, Satan, because you're opposing the things of God.
Right.
You're become adversarial to what the purpose and direction is here."
And if you spell it wrong, it's Santa.
It is. I've heard I've heard sermons on that. Yeah. Satan claws at your back or something. It's like, what the?
Satan
What?
Claus?
I'm like, okay, yeah. There's a few things that
That's
that,
unsettling. I don't
we
know
lost our
Satan
feet.
Claus.
Nate took away our
What
feet
did
over
you do?
here.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what scene.
You guys
there we
can't
go.
see each other, so go
I
away.
got a refill.
Right.
Nate, can I get some cubes?
He's got the panda on there.
Ready for 14.
Just some cubes, buddy.
Where is Ben, man?
Ben is on the West Coast. He chimed in a little while ago.
Nice.
Yeah. So shout out to Benny if he's still listening.
Yeah, we had another.
He says, "That's OSU, boss." Is that what is OSU? I don't know.
have
What
no
that,
idea.
I don't know the
I'll
vernacular.
Google it in a minute. I put your definition of Satan on the screen now.
Begone, Satan!
So,
I'm attempting.
anyways, so Jesus accuses Peter of being, or not accuses. He calls him Satan.
Yeah.
Because he's opposing what he's doing. And so there's a balance in that.
Right.
We go back to Ecclesiastes, and the end of Ecclesiastes, and I was going to quote it, the NIV version of it says, "It is good for a man to avoid all extremes."
Right.
So we're dealing with this. We're talking about avoiding extremes. Did you lose my feet again? We're avoiding extremes. As far, there you go, buddy. We're avoiding extremes,
Yeah.
right? And as far as family, it's like the extreme is I can only, the people that I'm literally born to
Right.
are the only ones I can connect with, or I'm going to reject my family entirely. And there's some pretty fucked up families out there, dude. I've dealt
In
with
so many ways.
I've had, you and I have had some conversations.
Yeah.
I'm closer to the crew around me
Yeah.
than I am to a lot of my biological family. That's not to say they were estranged, but at the same time, we're not close because a lot of times it's just proximity. And I've said that to people.
Well, what's that? Familiarity breeds contempt.
Yeah, it says in Proverbs, it says, seldom set foot in your neighbor's house or he'll grow tired of you.
Yeah. And I mean,
know?
Ben Franklin had the same thing. A fish grows stinky after 3 days. Mm-hmm. You look at all of these adages and proverbs and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I mean, I think it's hilarious because you had mentioned earlier that, I had resided with you for a season.
Ben's in Howard City.
What's up to Ben? But it was so humbling at that point in time because it's exactly what I needed. And, we're brothers, man.
Right.
We love hard. We fight hard. We party hard. We work hard.
Yeah.
That's what you do. And that's that whole growing, maturing, so on and so
Absolutely.
forth. In fact, I want to go to chat really quick. Jeff El Jefe
El
chimed in-
Jefe.
El Jefe chimed in and says, "I like this format of chat." So thanks, Jeff. Appreciate
Absolutely.
you bringing that on and chiming
Yeah,
in. And if you
that's-
got any questions or anything, or
Yeah, that's the only thing we lose when we do the recorded ones. But the recorded ones, I mean, Nate's
Right.
over there screaming at us. He's like, "You're past 2 hours. What the hell?" And he's like falling off his chair, falling asleep. He's like, "Are you done yet?"
But
You
yeah,
know?
I mean,
not because it's boring, just because we tax his ass.
Well, and that's the thing is going back to that positive element of growing together, maturing together, and sometimes, as you and I have experienced firsthand, there's a season where we are separated.
Absolutely.
for personal growth and personal maturing and coming back.
And it may sound cheesy, but absence make the heart grow fonder. I just got that guy. Did you see it?
Did you get him? He snatched him up, huh? But that's the thing. Is you said, we were trying to get our schedules together over the past couple of weeks because
Right.
we both have been busy.
Right.
The second we walked through the door, you were hugging on me, you were hugging on Nate, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
brother, we are having a family reunion.
Exactly.
And it was so great because that's what, we've worked together on so many different projects.
Yeah.
We've played music, we've, confided in each other about
Absolutely.
so much stuff. And yet, when you look at the outside of it and people hear the story about how we became brothers, it's like, how should you two be functioning this way? You should hate each other. And it's like,
But no.
No.
Yeah, I mean, even with Bill, when we sit down and we'll eventually talk about Bill's story and how we're connected.
Cheers to Brother Bill.
People will be like, "What?
Yeah.
How are you connected with that? Why are you still connected with that dude?" It won't be how. They'll understand
Right.
the how. They'll be like, "What?
Right.
Huh?" So, but yeah, it's family to me is the people that are around you at the time.
Right.
At any given time. And I've said this before. I used to say to a lot of people, I'm like, most of our friendships are friendships of convenience.
Yeah.
Because you work with somebody or
Right.
because you're around somebody on a regular basis for whatever necessity, you develop friendships.
Right.
It's very rare when people go out of their way and pursue friendships.
Yeah.
And work their way into friendships.
Right.
When you do that, it's like you and I.
Yeah.
Okay. You live an hour and 40 minutes away from me.
Roughly, depending on traffic.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
And yet we stay in contact. I've been on Don't Make This Weird. I've been
Yep.
on Survivor Girl.
Yeah.
So I have to drive that hour and 45 minutes up there.
Right.
And I think we had something heavy going. So we came up for, what episode was it when me and just James and I came up for the show?
I want to say that was the 100th episode.
Was that the 100th episode?
I think so, yeah.
That was the celebration of the 100th episode.
Yeah.
And I said to Wojo, we had done something the week before.
Yeah.
Wasn't that 4th of July or something like that? Was the week before? or
That
the
was
week
2
a-
weeks before the 100th. That was the 4th of July.
So Wojo and Chicago were like, fuck that. They're like, we love Tony and we love the crew up there. They're like,
Right.
we got a full schedule this week of
Right.
work and everything like
Right.
that. And they're
Right.
like, we just can't make that trip.
Fuck Tony.
No, they're just like, no.
You're getting cold
They're like,
for Christmas.
You going?
Woj.
James and Jeremy and James, you going? We're like, yeah, we're going. They're like, all right, you at least represent. Because they were like, yeah. But I mean, we got schedules, and you guys do your
Yeah.
show on Thursday nights.
Absolutely.
So sometimes Friday is shot.
Yeah.
I come back and I'm like, show up at the job site, and I'm like, all right, boys, I need you to do this, this, and this, and I'll be in the truck for a minute.
But see, that's the thing, is working together as a family, as brothers in arms.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane because there was when we reconnected, good Lord, shortly after the Super Bowl party, wasn't it?
It was a little bit before that. I came up. I started catching you on the podcast.
Yeah. But I mean, coming down here and
Oh, that was the real. Yeah.
Yeah.
You came down. Were you part of the Super Bowl party?
Yeah, we played.
You played.
together. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've played so much. I forget.
Right.
Super Bowl. You were here for
St. Patty's Day. But that's the point I was getting at.
4th of
is,
July, Labor Day.
we reconnected. I came down here for the Super Bowl party, which was in February sometime.
Right.
The next time we saw each other
Yeah.
was St. Patty's Day.
Right.
And it was good. And it was great because it was like, we really need to figure this out. To
Right.
where what's that? Hold on, let me.
And Ben's working on those shows because we sat down right
Yeah.
after St. Patty's Day and we recorded 3 full episodes of This Is My Brain before we even launched. So that tells you how long we've been gestating this.
Oh, yeah.
How long that baby's been in the oven.
Well, that's
Are
what
you plugged in over there?
I have no idea. I don't think so. Why are you almost dead?
I'm dead. My phone just died, and I was like,
Grab the intern.
of course, there it is.
Hold on. Son of a bitch.
Do your
So-
job, Nate.
The French have a saying, and it the English translation is "I miss you," but the French translation, and I'm horrible with this, and I'm probably going to butcher it. So
Butcher it away.
right, it says "Tu me manques." It means you're missing from me. Yeah, go ahead.
Because you're fucking it up.
I'm totally fucking it up.
Tu me manques.
Manques, yes. Which
Fucked it up too. It sounded better, didn't it?
right, a little more rolling the R's there. But no, it's in the French translation. It means you are missing from me.
Right.
And that has been, since we've reconnected since the Super Bowl, and we're working on several different projects since then.
Yeah.
That's the overall vibe, because we've said it in so many words or less. Brother, when we're not together, you're missing from me. There's
Absolutely.
a piece of my
Absolutely.
family that is not present.
Right.
That is only fulfilled, and you're the whole to my whole.
Right.
When we come back together and we have a family reunion.
Absolutely.
Regardless of whatever it is we're doing, whether it's a project or, good Lord, over the summer, I called you up and I'm like, dude, my head space is not in the right space. I need to come get away.
Right.
And you're like, cool.
Man cave's open.
Right.
Come hang, bro.
And, it was one of those things that,
Where are you at on the editing of those songs?
oh, good Lord, dude. It is,
Those were killer songs.
Yeah.
You need to get that shit done.
I'm working on it. And
So yeah, you came down for the weekend.
Right, I
brought
wrote-
your guitar and your amp and came down, and you were like, dude, and you were like sitting. So we're at the long bar. Everybody can see.
Right.
Give me a
The
long bar shot.
there you go.
So this long
thing.
bar, I built this. I built this for the Super Bowl party. Easy, Tone.
Look out. Here we go.
He's throwing his shit around. Can't handle his liquor.
No, I can't handle the microphone. I got the liquor. Didn't spill
So
it
this
out.
long bar all the way to the computer station for Nate. This is a 12-foot long bar.
Give me this one.
There you go.
There you
There
go.
you go. That's
Look at that.
so the 12-foot long bar. Yeah. So it's a long bar, and we're sitting in stools, but it's designed primarily. The
stand
long bar
next
is to stand next to you.
Yeah.
You've got your drink and everything like that, and if you can see give me the long bar shot. Can they see the screen in the back?
Yeah.
Give me the other one. Give me the table shot. Okay, so the screen above Tony there, that is a 17.5-foot widescreen. So we watch football and hockey and whatever we feel like watching.
Absolutely.
And we also, in fact, for the Labor Day show,
Yeah.
we had PowerPoint presentations of the songs as we were doing them. As we were singing the songs, we had the words of the songs, because some of our all of our originals, people don't know the words. They love
But
the
they
songs.
were singing the choruses.
But they were singing with us. It was phenomenal, dude. But and there I hit my microphone.
See, now you're hitting yours, man.
So, but the connection points of us, coming together.
Yeah.
It was like, dude, we've. It doesn't matter how long we've been apart.
Right.
We're coming together. We're connecting. We're getting this done. So
Absolutely.
we sat down and we recorded all those songs at St. Patty's Day, and then you came and you're like, dude, I need a break, and so you came for the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And just you would walk up. The point of it was you would walk up. I'm over here sitting, just chilling.
Yeah.
Because I'm usually back here.
Yeah.
In the man cave, and you walked up to the man cave, and you're just you weren't even you weren't even plugged in or anything.
No.
You're just strumming on
Yeah.
your. Did you even have an acoustic? Or you were just playing your electric.
No, I got the guitar. I'll grab the guitar.
Grab the guitar.
Keep talking.
Yeah. So Tony comes up to the bar and he just starts strumming these tunes, and I'm like, "What's that?" And I grab a pen and I just start writing shit down. I'm like, "Okay, all right, what's this? What this?" And I was literally, I know some people freak out because they don't understand the idea, but they think it's new agey. But I literally was channeling your emotion at the time. You were dealing with some family, some heavy shit. And you literally walked up and you just start, there it is. Get a shot of that, Nate.
Oh, here we go.
So he comes in and he just walks up to the table, and I'm sitting at the table just doing my thing. Yeah.
It's not in tune.
Not in tune. So he comes up and he starts playing, and I'm like, what is, I don't even ask anymore, what is that?
No, you
I
start writing.
I just start writing, and then I double check with you in a minute or two. When you take a break, I go, you don't have words for that, right? And you usually go, no, bro, what do you got?
Yeah, right.
I go, all right, play that part again. And then I start singing. And I literally, the 3 or 4 songs that we wrote, you already had the music.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I start writing lyrics and I'm singing it.
Yeah.
We recorded, what was the one? There was 2 of them we recorded a lot of it. Got me, buddy?
Well, there was Look at My Scars.
That one was killer.
And then there was also, what was it? I've actually got it on here. Hold on. There was Look at My Scars and then Closer Now.
Closer Now, right?
Was the 2 tracks that we did. Now, the funny part about it is you left out the part where y'all were gone because you were doing family
No,
stuff.
I didn't leave it out. I wanted you to touch on it.
Well, you left out the part where you were doing family stuff because you're like, hey, man, we're going to the beach. We're doing this. We're doing that.
Did we go to
family
the beach?
barbecues.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We went out to Greta's.
You know, family.
Yeah, mom's friend Greta.
Family barbecues, the
Right.
whole, so, and I'm like, no, dude, I gotta stay here.
I'm like, dude, come hang out with us. We're gonna cook out. We're gonna do this stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I need to be here and just work it out.
Yeah, and I wrote 20 songs. I only got 3 somewhat recorded.
Right.
But the 2 that were put together was Closer Now and then Look at My Scars. And when you started writing that, and I was playing the song,
Yeah.
or playing the music part of it,
Yeah.
and you said you were channeling this stuff, and it was so surreal because when you finished the first verse and went into the chorus, and I went,
That's exactly how I feel.
well, at first I was like, dude, that's some pretty deep stuff. What's that about? And you're like, I'm channeling, picking up what you're putting down, and I'm like, that's exactly what I'm feeling. And it was so real, so surreal when you came into the studio that night to record the vocals.
Oh yeah, dude. That was incredible.
Oh man, it was so great because I worked all day on getting the music done. Recorded the drums, the bass, the guitar, the keyboard parts, the 15
Didn't I redo the bass lines?
the one song you did, yes.
I'm not a bass player. I can't play the bass.
Oh.
But no, it was so funny because when you started laying down the vocal track, when you add vocals to a song, it just takes it to a totally different place because the music was already translating and taking you there, that this was going to be something heavy.
Absolutely.
And then you drop the vocals, and I was like, this is exactly what I was feeling. And I still listen to the song and just like, it makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up.
It probably won't sound very good, will it?
Well, let me see here. Which one are we you talking about? Looking at My Scars? Or
Yeah,
Closer
look at
Now?
my scars. That one's, dude.
I don't know if this is...
I don't know if it'll translate well enough.
Probably not.
We didn't have it in the can. We didn't have that ready.
But yeah, that's... I don't know how long this song is. Let me pull it up here. It's not very long. It's like 3 minutes and 7 seconds.
Just see if let's see if Nate can get it to come up and play.
Probably not translating that well.
Is it?
I'm just going to sit here and play the song for a minute. Do you have the lyrics to this?
I do. You know what? While you're doing that, I'm gonna walk around and grab them.
But yeah, anyways, I'm not going to torture you with all of this for the simple fact that it's not done and it's not mixed. But writing the lyrics that you wrote was literally on the point of you took everything I was feeling from a very cathartic standpoint and immediately put that into words. And we hadn't done that in what? Good Lord, 10, 15 years, I think it was, the last time we had sat down and wrote music together.
Right.
So, and it was crazy because we looked at each other halfway through recording the vocal tracks, and we said almost at the exact same time, "Man, this is great that we're recording music together again and writing music." And it was so funny because the whole family vibe about that is, we're brothers in arms. We're fellow musicians. We're gonna drink. We're gonna fight. We're gonna love. All of that together, good, bad, and ugly, because I wasn't in a good place at that point in time.
Right. You were struggling with some heavy stuff that day.
Right. And
that whole week.
Captured that lyrically. Read
Okay.
the lyrics that you wrote for this song.
So it says, so the title of the song was Look at My Scars. Look lighter in color, because when you look at a scar, they're lighter in color, right? Where the skin has been torn, because that's how you get a scar, right? Where they're knife or cut.
Yep.
So lighter in color, where the skin has been torn, evidence I've been bruised and broken before.
Right.
Life came around just to knock me down, but I'll rise again. Just look at my scars and you'll understand. Just under the skin, there's a little more pain. Evidence I've been bruised and broken again. Life came around, but it can't keep me down too long. I'll rise again. Just look at my scars and you'll understand. And then the bridge goes, I can show you the scars where the stitches went in. I can tell you how long I laid there waiting for the healing to begin. Lighter in color, a little more pain. I'm getting stronger, but the scars remain.
See, and that's exactly what I was feeling because of the heavy stuff that I was dealing
Absolutely.
with. A lot of it caused by family.
Well, yeah.
And, it was crazy because I'm like, get out of my head. But it felt great. It was that cathartic release from not just a lyric standpoint, but from the music standpoint combined with the lyric standpoint. And it was so funny because when we were done recording that, you gave me the biggest freaking hug.
Dude, it was killer.
Oh, man.
I was, and people go, I feel like somebody has a problem with the word channeling out there. I just keep coming back to me channeling. I'm like, dude, when you tap into somebody else's soul and you're just feeling what they're feeling, that you're channeling them.
Right.
Okay, I know you're thinking of a new age shit, and that's not what I'm talking about. Anyway, so
Heather just chimed in and said, "Hey, everyone," and then she said, "Hey, we need those fancy mics. I'll take a purple one."
they only come in red.
It's exclusive to just This Is My Brain. See
Yeah,
that?
you can't take my
right
studio
Right.
and why is that one freaking out? Did you see that?
don't know. I think it was
Oh, it's because you put your hand in there, it's trying to focus on you. Stop that! It's got autofocus. What the fuck you doing?
Oh, you're liking that, yeah?
Oh no! All of a sudden, I'm brewery.
You brewery.
I'm brewery. So, anyways, my phone's back online. Let's see what's. Oh, there's Heather. She chimed in on mine too.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, she says we need those. Yeah. Wait, am I in the same now as you?
I don't know. Which
I'm
one are you on?
Yeah, I am on the press. I'm on
Okay.
the same one as you. I need to exit out of that one and go to the. Yeah, I'm on the Don't Make This Weird. I got to go to the HFTC because that's a totally different channel,
Yep.
dude.
But
This
yeah,
is what we do, a live production,
Of course, because we're trained
There we go.
professionals and we got our
HFTC.
shit together.
right?
But it's great.
there we go.
With the family aspect, and like you said, it takes a season to become close knit, and to understand. I mean, and I think you taught a relationship study
Absolutely.
on the fruit that we bear.
Yeah.
And you hit a lot of that on there of, how do you size people up? Well, look at the fruit that they're producing.
Yeah, absolutely. Jesus said you'll know them by their fruit. You want
Right.
to know somebody, you'll know them by their fruit.
Right.
And we're dealing with a situation business-wise where I'm connected with somebody for about 3 years, and all of a sudden we get into this business venture, and all of a sudden we're like, what the hell, dude? He just went stupid. The money hit the account, and he just,
Right.
it's a whole bunch of shit I can't get into because we're literally in legal.
Heather said, "Yes, I can." And she said, "I'm there in spirit."
Nice. But we literally, and what I realized was, somebody by their fruit. Sometimes the fruit takes a long time from spring
Right.
to where it starts to emerge. But once the fruit comes out,
Yeah.
and once you see the fruit, then you go, okay, I see the fruit you're bearing, and this is not cool.
Right.
And so, yeah, you'll know them by their fruit, and you've got to you've got to take the time to be in connection with people so that you can get to a point where you see the fruit of people and then assess from that. Jesus said, warn a divisive person once, warn him a second time, and then have nothing to do with him.
Right.
And Paul talked about that as well. Maybe I'm quoting Paul, but Jesus said, you go to your brother once and then
Right.
a second time, and if he won't listen, you put him out of the church. So there's that process that you have to go through.
Yeah.
But again, we're talking about being connected family-wise.
Absolutely.
What does it mean to be family? And I absolutely love my kids, but I get after my children as well because they'll be away for a week or two, and I haven't talked to
Right.
Al, or I haven't talked to Nicole. Vince works for me, so I see him pretty much all the time.
Right.
And Tim was pointing out, he's like, is somebody back there gaming? I'll host a gaming show with Nate. And I'm like, he's like, is somebody back there in the
Nate-
back gaming?
Nate's
And I'm like,
got some-
yeah, Nate. Vince is over there gaming. He's probably not, he hasn't even heard a single thing we've said on the show because he's got the headphones on. What's he doing? Oh, he's standing. Is he standing up? Oh, he's switching controllers.
He's not paying attention.
One controller died. Now he's switching. Because if they're gaming, I don't mind if they're in the background gaming, but I make
Right.
them. I'm like, you got to put the headphones on because I don't want to hear bang, bang, shoot, shoot behind me while we're doing our podcast. We were in the man cave. I mean,
Right.
there's a lot of activity goes on here.
Well, and that's what was so funny is you said to me when we reconnected back up after I think it was 18 months, almost 2 years of doing the podcast, And we had sat down and we had chit-chatted and what. You're like, I love the fruit you're bearing with this show.
Absolutely.
And I went, wow, that means a lot to me coming from a brother.
Right.
Because you saw how hard we were working. You saw all the things that we were doing. You saw the stresses, the good, bad, and the uglies.
Mm-hmm.
And you went, I am proud of you because you're
And
pushing.
I didn't say it in a condescending way.
Right.
I'm proud of you. I was like, dude, I'm proud of you. Man.
Right.
You're fucking tearing it up. Tear it up.
And that's where, that word of encouragement to me went, okay, cool. I'm validated in what I'm doing. And I went, hey, do you want to do a podcast?
I was like, dude, I was secretly offended. I'm like, how come you haven't called me before? And you're like, well, you live quite a ways away. And I'm like, well, but I'll come up and do the show. And I was like, there was that like awkward little bit of time where I was like, I don't want to be pushy. But if you need somebody, I'll come up and do the show with you guys.
Right.
And it was like, you're like, you come up and do the show? I'm like, yeah, I come up and do the show. Well, dude, come up and do the show.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
it was like that. We were both like, yeah, we want to do this. Let's do this. What's Heather saying?
Heather chimes in and says, I love my blood family, but you guys are my family as well.
Absolutely. And that's what it's about. You don't have to, I mean, I understand what Jesus was saying. And if you read the context of what he was saying, he was talking about, look, if you can't separate yourself from your family connections in order to pursue your purpose and destiny,
Right.
then you need to reassess that. You know,
Absolutely.
because sometimes your natural family can be toxic to what
Right.
your purpose and destiny is. That's unfortunate, but it happens. But he was saying, ultimately saying, you got to pursue me, you got to follow me, right?
Right.
And I don't look at that in the same religious tone that the vast majority of people look at it. You know, they're like, you got to follow Jesus, and it's this stuffy bullshit that they come up with. And I go, no, when you're following Jesus, Jesus was exactly who he was supposed to be, you know? He was exactly who he was supposed to be, incarnate. He did it. So when you look at Jesus, I'm going to encourage you not to look at the religious iconicon, the religious icon that you think you're looking at,
Yeah.
and look at the person and go, this was a dude who knew exactly who he was,
Right.
and operated in that.
He's not some old dude with a glorious beard sitting in the sky throne.
Well, that would be the Father. But I mean, yeah, exactly right. But when they're looking at Jesus, they're going, I got to be this religious person. I go, I've been in some deep times of prayer.
Right.
And I've literally go, Lord, what, how was it when you were hanging with his disciples? And he took me this picture, literally, and I don't give a shit whether you believe it or not. I saw this myself.
Right.
He's literally sitting around a table and somebody farts and they all laugh and they're having a good time, and, they're all, and I was like, I'm like, you guys did that? And he's like, do you guys do that? And I go, well, every once in a while. I mean, we try to be polite now and then, but I'm like,
killed Nate all
yeah,
weekend.
you killed Nate all weekend. And I'm literally, and I go, Jesus, you literally like cut up like that? And, somebody farted and everybody laughed. He goes, yeah.
Duh.
He goes, I came as a human being. He goes,
Hello.
He goes, operate for a day as a human being.
Right.
Minus what you think the religious traits of that would be, right? Whatever the religious overtones of what you should and shouldn't do. And he's like, just be a person.
Right.
And I go, okay, I'm going to go through my day and be a person. He goes, did you have some gas? Did you have, even if you ate, even yeah. Hercules, even if you have,
my baby.
even if you have some good food, right? Great food. Candy you even if you have great food, you can still have some gas from your food,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Right? And he's like, yeah. I was like, and that to me was
Right.
so sobering because I'm like, he showed me, I'm deep in prayer. Like I'm like,
Right.
a couple hours in, and it's like,
Of course.
Yeah, you get in those places of prayer where you feel you can open your eyes and see a literal fog in the room. It's so heavy.
Yeah.
That type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, Lord. And he goes, yeah. And he shows me this vision, and they're all sitting around the table eating, and I hear, and they all start laughing, and they laugh for a while, and they poke at each other a little bit, and then they go back to whatever they were talking about, right?
Right.
And I go, okay, so being with Jesus doesn't mean that you're so stuck up
Yeah.
and so full of yourself. It's
Right.
like, listen, if you walked into the president's office, what
Yeah, they said holy cheese cutter.
But what is this?
Well, I think of that line from Forrest Gump when Lieutenant Dan was like, "Gump, you found Jesus yet?" And Forrest Gump chimes in, "I didn't know. I was supposed to be looking for him."
Lieutenant Dan. So, but I was thinking when the Lord showed me that, He's like, He tempered it right down to me, and He goes, "Now look at it from this perspective.
Right.
If you walked into the president's office, whoever the president is, I don't care,
Right.
right? Because to me, the president, I'm one of those people that fall in line with whoever is in the office
Right.
deserves respect because they're in that office.
Right.
Now, I've liked other ones more than, certain ones more than others. But
Right.
either way, you're the president. Because you hold this
You're
office,
the leader of the free nation, man.
I'm going to respect you. So when you walked into the office,
Right.
you're going to have a certain amount of etiquette,
Of course.
right? But if you also knew this person privately,
Right.
then the etiquette gets a little bit tempered.
Right. Right.
And when the door closes and you go, "Hey, it's just us." Seriously? Did you just soil yourself?
I just farted in the Oval Office.
Maybe. But again,
Right.
we're being silly about it. But the point is that the closer you are with people, and I got to get into that. I might have to write it down so we stay on topic on that one.
Yeah.
Dude, I grew up in church where the pastors were taught that you don't get close to the people. And he
How
literally,
could you not?
Dude, they literally said this, and I'm like, logically, it doesn't even make any sense. They would say, sheep don't get close, the shepherds don't get close to the sheep, and I'm like, what? Literally, when you're a sheep herder, you sleep with the sheep, okay? You grab one sheep for your pillow, and you grab a couple to keep you warm over here.
Right.
And you put one on top of you to keep you warm because they're all woolly and everything
Exactly.
like that. And then, but you've already created a hedge of protection to put them in. So
Right.
they're all there and they're being protected around you.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, shepherds smell like sheep. There's all sorts of stuff. And I go, I'm hearing this from the pastors. And they're like, well, we don't want to get too familiar, because then we'll lose respect. And I'm like, you're telling me that familiarity is how you maintain respect? Or, distance is how you maintain respect?
Right.
I'm like,
That's not how any of that works.
do we have complete respect between us?
Absolutely.
Yet we know each other?
Right.
And you farted on Nate earlier?
Right in his ear.
It was disgusting. You're just wrong. I prayed for you. I'm like, Lord, help Tony. Because that's not nice.
Dear 8 pound, 6 ounce baby Jesus lying there in your golden diapers.
Using your speaking spell. But
I'm going to pray to the baby Jesus because that's the one I identify with,
I picture
okay?
Jesus as a bum. And I walk up and I was going to punch him in the face. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. That's Jesus. And I stopped myself. That's a little Ricky Bobby humor.
That's right.
There, doing that.
But no, that's exactly the point that you're expounding on is you're human, you're real, you're fallible, and you're gonna fall. As family, true legitimate family, you help each other up and you keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
And it's not necessarily blood, it's someone that you have gone through the trenches and fought side by side, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, to where
Right.
that whole iron sharpens iron adage.
Absolutely. And that's my point with Jesus when he's
Right.
there. I'm dealing with when I'm younger, I'm going to church and I'm committed there and I'm wanting to get close to the pastors. And it used to annoy my first wife. She'd be like, "What the heck? Can we just leave?" Because I would get in the line to go up and at least just hug pastor after
Of
service.
course.
And I'm like, I need my hug, and I would go up and get my hug, right? And say,
Right.
"Thank you, pastor. It was a good message," or whatever. And she didn't. It was a thing that I had to work through as well to understand that I needed that connection. And I'm hearing it from those particular pastors. It's like, well, shepherds don't get close. We can't get too close to the sheep
That's so ridiculous.
because then there's too much familiarity. And I'm like, listen, if people don't respect you because they're close, James, my superintendent,
Yeah.
respects me all day long.
Right.
Works for me. We
Right.
come back here. We hang out after work in the man cave.
Right.
His wife and kids were here. All of them were here. His buddies were here. We're all hanging out just before the show.
Right.
Okay. utmost respect for me as his boss, but we're also friends as well. You can do both. And there's this concept somewhere, I don't know how it got all fucked up, but there's this concept that you can't be friends and yet still command respect in the field. Listen, I want to be, if we're going into battle,
Right.
I want to know you as my brother, my friend, and then when we're in battle, I say, Tony, hit that flank, run over there, do that thing,
Right.
do this thing. And so it's like,
You've got my back and I've got yours.
absolutely.
Without
And
question.
just because there's a chain of command,
Right.
doesn't mean that we can't honor the chain of command as well as have
Right.
some. I think of I love one of my favorite films, Saving Private Ryan, and he does it. They do it in there when they're all walking with each other, right?
Yeah.
And of course, Tom Hanks is, they're like, and they're all joking around with each other. They're all having a good time, And
Right.
Tom Hanks is a little bit aloof because he's the captain, but he has that mystique. It's not just because he's trying to stay distant from his guys. The one scene when they're sitting in the church and he's like, how many men I've killed.
Right.
But I have to justify the amount of men I've killed to say that each man could be 100 lives or
Right.
1,000 of the people that I've saved for
Right.
each life. He said, so every man that I send into the firing, in the line of fire, hopefully I'm saving that, 100 times more.
Like the movie Fury with Brad Pitt and
Yeah.
all of them guys. We watched that here on the big screen. And
Yeah.
it was so great to watch because obviously you got the surround sound and you're literally submerged in the movie.
Yeah.
But, to identify with these people and to go, wow, it was that personal. These guys literally slept, ate, jerked off inside of this tank.
Did they? I don't know if they did that.
I mean,
But
but
saying.
the point being is,
You're saying it was pretty tight space, pretty intimate.
they were brothers, man.
Right.
And that was the thing is you can't help but, I look at, one of the things is we give thanks to our troops.
Yeah.
These guys go over there all the time, and they are literally brothers in arms, the absolute definition of brothers in arms.
Absolutely.
And they go over there and they have that camaraderie of being, soldiers. And they come back and look at, World War I, World War II, the Korean War, the
Yeah.
Vietnam War, any of these wars. And these guys,
That's one of the Go ahead.
these guys are so connected years later. Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
A lot of these survivors, they talk about these lost brothers and whatnot because these guys lived, ate, slept, fucked, the whole 9 yards, prayed together.
Right.
And they weren't family, but
Right.
they were brothers in arms.
And that's one of the things we've talked about in another episode, other episodes about the Christmas treaty, the Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't the armistice. It was a Christmas where they stopped. They just ceasefire. Christmas ceasefire.
Yeah.
But the amazing thing about that's one of the things that they're trying to do now is remove the humanity
Right.
from our armed forces so that they're just robotic and they go out and kill whoever the people behind the glass want them to kill. And the problem with that is when you remove the humanity
Right.
of the kill factor,
Right.
you also remove the humanity of the camaraderie.
Well, didn't you bring up the what was it, the statistic of these guys are military trained sharpshooters?
Yeah.
You give them a target, they're putting a bullet through it.
Absolutely.
Dead center.
Dead center.
Every single time.
Yeah, 1,000 yards, fucking nailing it down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yet, if they're shooting another target, the reason why they miss is because they're shooting another human. It's not.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not a target.
The accuracy in the field of battle versus the accuracy in training and targets.
Right.
There's a clear. It's like
Night and day.
they're 80 to 90% target on every time,
Right.
and then in the field, it drops precipitously. It drops way off. You
Yeah.
have to look up the statistics, but what it is they have humanity.
Right.
They have humanity.
Right.
When you get another human being in your sights versus a paper target,
Right.
you have to have a conscience. You
Right.
have to have a pause. You have
Right.
to think about that. And if you don't, you shouldn't be the one pulling that fucking trigger because you've lost your humanity in that.
Well, and that's the thing is I look at a lot of the family stuff. For me to change gears a little bit to kind of give a little more credence to what we're talking about as being brothers.
Yeah.
My family, my dad, my mother, all said, hey, kid, sorry you're not a priority. This is my family. The safety net that I knew as the world.
Right.
That was supposed to be good, right, pure, innocent, and all those things that you're supposed to know as a family growing up.
Yeah.
Said, sorry, kid, you're not a priority. So what became my family was my friends, my bandmates.
Absolutely.
My grandmother, who, yes, was biologically my family. But, I hated her because it was that disconnect of, oh, you're the old fuddy-duddy generation.
Right.
What could you possibly know?
Right.
But, my bandmates became my brothers in arms.
Absolutely.
Because we're out on the road doing all of this crazy stuff and we're experiencing life together. We're bleeding together. We're sweating together.
Right.
Hell, for all intents and purposes, we're probably sharing the same girl in the hotel room, unbeknownst to us.
You always got to go to the sexual aspect, don't you?
But the point that I'm getting at is that was that close-knit brotherhood of what we did as becoming brothers in arms out on the road or experiencing life of, oh man, my girl kicked me out. Can I crash on your couch or whatever it is?
Right.
And it's a lot of that stuff. And everyone that I know has those types of people in their life. Some of them are toxic. Some of them are, you know what? Yeah, I owe you an apology because you helped me become a better person.
Right. Right.
And, you being one of them. Me being one of those in your life of going, okay, Tony's a special boy, so we're going to give him a crash helmet, and he can sleep on my couch.
Yeah. Did I let you sleep on the couch?
No, you gave me my own room with my daughter. But
That's how I am, bro.
that's what I mean, though. It's that brotherhood.
How old
that-
was Maddie at that time? She was like 6 months, dude.
5-6 months, man.
Yeah,
something like
so we set you up with a room and
Yeah.
you had your bassinet. And,
I scared Al most of the time from sleeping.
well, because Al was right next to you,
Yeah, there was a hole.
and
in
then
the
we were
closet.
upstairs above you.
Yeah.
And I'm like waking up going, what the fuck is that noise? Dude, Tony has some wicked, you've heard people snore, but this dude sounds like he's choking on, I don't know. an
I
elephant.
drowned in my sleep.
You do.
Yeah. That's the crazy. It's gotten better since I've.
Stop doing coke.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, coke kind of fucks you up. I'm just going to be brutally honest. Those who are listening and tuning in for the visual part, don't do coke.
Don't do coke.
It's
Nate's shaking his head.
probably not a good
not good.
idea because
He
there's
is
certain
no better now than he probably was a while ago.
those things that don't really sit
He's
so
hope.
well because it literally goes away. But I digress. The point being is, I feel like
Earwig, get back in the right spot.
the guy from what was it, Waterboy, which brings me to my next point: don't smoke crack.
Don't smoke crack.
But yeah, I mean, it was one of those things that because of the situation and circumstances that we were working through together,
Yeah.
it helped me grow. It helped you grow because not only were you one of my mentors at the time, and I didn't even realize it.
Right.
That's how crazy it was for me. Like, really?
What?
That's what you're gonna? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we worked together arm in arm. Even when I was like, "Don't touch me," and you're like, "I'm gonna touch it." But it was great because that's
You
what
gonna
true
poke the
family
bear?
is.
Yes.
Your true family makes you a better person.
Should challenge you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And call you on your bullshit of going,
Call
"Bro,
you on your bullshit,
bro,
challenge you.
What are you doing?
Try to help you be the best that you can be.
Right.
Not just, there's a difference between people that try to just antagonize you because they're fucked up.
Absolutely.
And people that push you and challenge you because they want you to be the best. I want you to be the best that you can be. So I'm going to push in you. I'm going to poke at you. I'm going to say,
Same.
hey, what the hell? What are
Right.
you doing, dude?
Right.
You've got all this talent and ability. Because I remember some of those conversations we had where did you get him?
I think so. Well,
I don't know, his fruit flies came in and little shits. But I remember challenging. I was like, Tony,
Yeah.
you got all this talent and skill, and you were letting your relationships with baby mamas
Oh God, it was horrible.
and some of your illegal shit.
Yeah.
You were like, dude, I can't do anything because I got baby mama illegal shit. And I was like, shut the fuck up and get your shit together and get moving forward.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not putting up with that.
Yeah.
I've seen you play guitar, dude. You can, and not only that, all the other, you would like walked in and you're like, oh yeah, you got a jump drive? And I'm like, a what? Like a USB drive.
Right.
And we're like, at that time they were like, what, 10 megabytes or some shit.
It was something.
It was
stupid.
ridiculous
Yeah.
how small they were. Be like, I got 4 songs on here.
Right. Exactly.
That's the maximum I can get on there. Now you can get a drive that has like a million
1,000 CDs.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right.
But at the time, you're like, how about this? And we did a lot of shit together. But it was like some of the life elements,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But I got in your case sometimes, and I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, I love you, and I see your potential and your
Get your
talent.
shit together.
Get your shit together, because you were. I mean, we've talked about that in other episodes where I literally picked you up from jail.
Yeah.
You know, but again,
If that wasn't a brother investment, I don't know what was. I'm
Right.
coming to get your wasted ass up in jail. Granted, I wasn't wasted, but life beat me up at that
Yeah,
point in time.
exactly.
And that's what I'm talking about. Real family
real family does that.
of finding you at your worst place or even at your best place, but suffering some fire and ice and going through those things to go, you know what? We've earned that.
Right.
We've earned that place to go, you're fucking up.
Yeah.
Pull your head out of your ass because I know you're better than that.
Exactly. And that's what you need sometimes. You
Right.
know what? Some people go, well, do you have to use all the cuss words? And I'm like, sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes in order to get somebody's attention,
Right.
you've got to do that. Sometimes you don't.
Right.
Okay.
Candy just chimes in and said, I love my tribe. They make me a better person.
Exactly. Because and you said it earlier, iron sharpens iron.
Absolutely.
Have you ever sharpened iron? Have you ever done that?
It is so difficult.
Give a shot of Tony. No, give a shot. Get a Tony shot. Okay. Right over there. I'm going to point. I got to move my finger because it's disoriented. Right over there on the table. The Di Serono. Yeah. Right next to the Di Serono. Move your bottle, Tony.
I can go grab it.
No, right there. Yeah. Grab my big knife.
Yeah.
That's not a knife.
It's not a knife.
This is not.
Grab the sharpener too. It's up on the.
This one.
Yeah. Okay. So this is from, and I'll see if Rapid River eventually wants to sponsor us because they're an awesome knife making place. But Rapid River, okay, that is the where am I at? Right there. Tony has to go pee. I'll go to mine. Okay, so Rapid River, that's their knife sharpening, and this is a knife that I got from Ducks Unlimited. I'm a member of Ducks Unlimited. I go to a bunch of the banquets, and we do the Ducks banquets. They help preserve the wetlands and do a lot of stuff like that. There's actually an emblem right in the end of this. This is literally a it's a cast of a real antler. And so they make a Ducks Unlimited knife. But anyways, my point was, iron sharpens iron, is you take this sharpener that we got from Rapid River, and you put it on the edge of your table, and you pull like 3 times through the sharpener. And I'm telling you what, 3 times through that sharpener, and this, you could shave with this. We literally, once we sharpen it, we do the test on our arms, and we take off hair on there. But that's when we talk about iron sharpens iron. And my whole point was, when iron sharpens iron, the way that they tell you to do this is you hold it on the edge of the table. Okay? You hold it like that on the edge of the table, right? And you do this sharpening. You'll probably pick this up and it'll hurt everybody's ear. Did that come through, Nate? Okay, so it came through a little bit. But what you don't realize is there's literally shavings. There's literally
Metal shavings.
micro shavings of metal that are on the table from me sharpening this knife. And so when you talk about iron sharpens iron, most people don't understand I'm literally taking off small little layers of you from iron, from sharpening it.
To sharpen to a point.
And look at that. Look at that. I love that. Is that coming through?
Gorgeous.
That Damascus, look at all those folds.
Yeah.
That is a...
Hold it up to mine. Oh, go to a shot of me, Nate, and hold it up to the camera there.
Yeah, hold up there. Where are you holding it at, Nate? Oh, Nate's going to do it over there.
Yeah.
There you
Do
go.
it on the other side. Shit, I got confused.
You got, oh, there goes
Now
the
you're
table
breaking
shot.
stuff.
I like you stuff a little bit.
just a tiny bit.
Oh, we're not gonna get a table shot now.
Oh, we're not getting a table shot anymore.
But yeah,
Just fried the table
it's
shot.
taking
Yeah.
the jagged edges off, and you look at carbon. That's the reason why you can sharpen a knife, because it's such tempered, heated
Yeah.
carbon elements in the iron
You got it?
that is going to here, pull that up on the screen.
Now look at that. All right, so see how those folds
Isn't
are?
that
That's
gorgeous?
not coloring, but that's literally the amount of times that they fold
Yeah.
that steel over onto itself, and they add carbon. What Tony was just saying, they add carbon each time.
Yeah.
They fold it, and it strengthens the metal and makes the steel stronger, and just turns it into this gorgeous, not only a gorgeous piece of art, but a strong.
Well, isn't that antler too?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think it's a casting. I don't think it's actually antler. I think it's a casting of antler.
Okay.
So I think they took an actual. I mean, it looks like a full-blown antler the way that the
Yeah, it does.
material is. I'd love to believe it was an actual antler, but the holes in here make me wonder. It could be. I've never dealt with an
Well,
antler.
it's very porous when you cut it open and do something.
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
Because if you look at an antler, and I mean that.
Yeah,
it almost feels
mean,
like
it feels like an antler,
Right.
But you know what they can do with epoxies and resins nowadays. But it looks like an antler, dude. When we were up at Rapid River.
Yeah.
It's in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan. They take crazy stuff. Like they take ferns,
Yeah.
fern fronds,
Yeah.
and they'll lay them in the epoxy.
Yep.
And then let it harden, and then they'll cut it.
Yep.
And what you end up on the hilt of the knife is this gorgeous, bisect of the fern frond.
Yeah.
Inside like a blue green or purple
Yep.
epoxy, and they make that the handle of these gorgeous knives that they hand forge up there.
Yeah.
It's absolutely gorgeous. Al's got one of them. The knives. I when we were up there, Nate, you were with us. Nate and me and Vince went up fishing, and we came back through Rapid River. Through the Rapid River Knife Place, and
Right.
they had just some gorgeous stuff. But that's what I'm saying about the iron sharpens iron is you think that iron just sharpens iron and it's no big deal, but you're literally losing stuff. What are you doing, Nate? You putting those back? Putting them back over where they belong. Absolutely.
But yeah, that's the thing about it is you take off those microscopic edges and making the other person as best as they can possibly be.
Yeah.
You know, I look at just you and mine brotherhood and friendship that we've cultivated over the years, and we've knocked off the sharp edges of each other to where this refined piece of art and human being,
Absolutely.
to where, you know, the music thing, the friendship thing of, dude, I can come to you and you can come to me about anything, and we can confide in each other.
Yeah.
And go, dude, I'm struggling. Or, hey, man, I'm having a great day. I want to,
Right.
share.
There's times, dude, when I feel it. I'll feel
Yeah.
it in my heart and my spirit, and I'll go, I'll pop you a text or I'll give you a phone call, and I'll be like,
The
hey,
same
Tony.
way.
I go, Tony, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And in fact, I think that weekend,
Yeah.
I was like, dude, what's up? What
Yeah.
you doing? And you're like, I'm struggling, bro. I'm like, well, where you at?
Right.
Well, I'm on my way back from this and that. And I goes, you want to just, you know, and you're like, can I come just to the bar? And I'm like, absolutely, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it was perfect. And so when you have those connections, and that's what it's about. And the funny thing, and I've said this story a number of times, and I like to tell it because it's very true and poetic, but everybody needs connection. Everybody needs relationship.
Yeah.
And your connection levels may be less because of the hurts and wounds, or because you're just not an outgoing person. That's fine.
Right.
But we all need connections. And I've said it this way, you know, the old lady with 15 cats, 20 cats, right?
Yeah.
She gives the cats personalities. Of
course.
She talks to the cats.
Right.
She lets the cats talk to her, and will speak in third person for the cats, you know.
Of course.
And she'll be like, how you doing, little Whiskers? And she'll go, oh, Whiskers, yeah. You know, and just do all that. And we think, crazy old cat lady, right? But the reality is what she's doing is demonstrating the necessity, the God-given, embodied relational aspect that we all have and can't escape. You have to have people in your life or you go insane. Tom Hanks, the movie Castaway, is the
Wilson!
he had to form some type of relationship to
Right.
keep his sanity
Absolutely.
on an isolated island all by himself. Now we know it's a movie, but there are plenty of historical accounts of people doing that.
Well, when you bring it a little closer to reality for some people, there's a lot of people that are introverts and have lots of awkward social anxieties. Yet when you get other people that have those awkward social anxieties and are introverts,
Yeah.
in a room full of people that are doing the same thing, and they're like, "Oh, I don't want to people." They don't want to people together, and it's funny watching that, where it's like, "I'm not going to people," but you're not people. You're one of the people that I'm connected with. And when you have a room full of people that don't want to peopling, it's interesting because it's like, wait a minute, you said you weren't a people person. You don't want to go out and do all this weird, awkward social stuff of etiquette and so on and so forth. And it gives you anxiety to where you have to move.
Right.
And yet you're peopling with other people that don't want to people. And you're interacting in a healthy manner and you're engaging. And coming from a person that has anxiety and deals with that on a day-to-day basis, there's just some times that when you're around your tribe or your family or whatever,
Yeah.
and they go, "Yeah, I don't understand it, but I'm still here."
Right.
And it's an incredible thing of going, "It's too people-y out today." Cool. Then come here and don't peopling.
Right. Well, just like when you came here for the weekend, you're like, dude, I just need you. You were craving the interaction with me. James was around as well. I think Vince was hanging around.
Absolutely.
And so you wanted the interaction. You wanted the connection. We wrote some music. It was just at a certain point, there was just you and I a couple different times.
Yeah.
And we were connected and we were writing music. But at the same time, you're like, when we wanted to go to we had 2 different days.
Yeah.
Saturday and then Sunday.
Right.
So Saturday during the day, I'm like, dude, we're going to go do this and do this. And I want you, not only are you more than welcome, are you coming with it? Did we go to the water park that day? No, it wasn't that day.
It was the beach, and then there was some sort of family
The
barbecue.
beach was Sunday.
Right.
Anyways, Sunday or Saturday we had something. Sunday we had something, and you were totally included in it. And you said, "I'm just going to hang back and hang by myself." So you needed the interaction,
Right.
But at the same time, you wanted the isolation,
Right.
for a moment to get in your own headspace. And you came out of that whole weekend,
Yeah.
refreshed, revived,
Oh.
reset. And it was beautiful. And so people have to understand that it's like, sometimes husbands and wives and husbands need to understand that when they're dealing with their wives, it's like, she doesn't necessarily want me to fix it,
Right.
but we're fixers. So we want to fix shit, but she doesn't necessarily want me to fix it.
Just listen.
She wants me to listen.
Yeah.
And she'll work it out. Because that's the way God has ordained women to be, is to be a sounding board and to be able to orate and be able to communicate.
Right.
So sometimes she just wants to vent and have you listen, and it's in the same mechanism. Because the true mechanism of husband and his wife is he makes the decisions. She's the chief. She's the consigliere. She's the chief
Right.
sounding board. So he's like, I'm going to
If
make
you don't
this
understand that, look that definition up.
Yeah. She's like, he says, I need to make a decision for the family.
Right.
What do you see that I'm not seeing, honey, so that I'm making the best decision?
Because we're equal here.
Because we're working together, but
Yeah.
it's literally president and vice president working together. President
course.
is going to execute the vast majority of the day-to-day decisions.
Right.
The president's going to come in and execute the final decisions.
Right.
And so when you look up that dynamic, you begin to understand what's going on. It's like,
Look at
I
this-
need your input. I need your insight.
Right.
When they say women's intuition, it's literally what they're talking about is you have an intuition that I don't have. You're seeing,
Right.
listen, if I'm making the decisions, I'm not always seeing the full picture. So I need your input to see the full picture. Because if the onus is on me to make the decisions,
Right.
I may not catch all the nuances. If the onus isn't on you to make all the decisions, you have a clear vision to see all of the nuances that I may be missing. And that's the key. So again,
And it's crucial because when you look at, even from a scriptural standpoint, it says, "Wives, submit yourself to your husbands." Most people stop at that because they think it's all this father knows best,
they get all caught up in that. They don't understand
Women
the
are
dynamic.
subservient and all that BS.
They don't understand the partnership dynamic. In a partnership, you
Right.
have to have a senior and a junior partner. Doesn't mean that either one are less.
Right.
It means that you fulfill a role. Okay.
But when you look at the continuation of that scripture,
Yeah.
is husbands love.
Love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her.
But look
So you're loving to the point of sacrifice.
right.
So
When
they
you
get
look
hung
at-
up and go, oh, women submit. And you go, oh, we got to submit. And you go, yeah, to a dude who's willing to give his life for you.
And that's the point.
That's
how
the
many
dynamic.
how many people in the family context, in the family dynamic, husband and wife, brother to brother,
Right.
will literally bleed for that other person to go, I got you.
Right.
Good, bad, ugly, thick and thin,
Right.
the whole 9 yards.
Yeah,
I will
I got you.
fucking bleed for you because that's how much you mean to me.
Exactly.
In my life, in a healthy perspective.
Healthy. Yeah, we're talking about healthy. All things being
Because-
equal. Absolutely.
We're in the trenches and we're fighting together. And that's
Yeah.
a lot of people make that connection with the husband and wife dynamic for the family aspect because they're the patriarch and matriarchal aspects of what family is. But when you look at a lot of that stuff and go, well, wait a minute. The mom's doing this, dad's doing this, or whatever it is, and it's completely out of context because mom's not submitting to dad.
Right.
And dad's off, going to the titty bar and blowing off whatever.
You always go to that sexual aspect, don't you?
But that's the thing is, how many times have you heard that, though?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's that old country tune? Papa was a trucker and Mama loved man, or some goofy thing like that. That's the thing. That's everyday interaction.
Right.
I don't know any person that doesn't go through and have some sort of that aspect about them to where it causes a strain on the family relationship.
Absolutely.
And, yes, there's those elements, but good God, don't be proud enough to not work through those things and go, hey, you're fucking up. Pull your head out of your ass.
Right.
I'm going to love you through this.
Yeah, get your shit straight.
Period.
Right.
Unconditionally.
Yeah.
You mean something to me. You matter something to me. Let's work together on this so we can be better together as opposed to, well, I'm not submitting to that. I'm not loving that.
Right.
You don't know how bad they hurt me. Okay, cool. Well, if you need to take a break for a season, take a break for a season.
Take a break for a season. Right.
If you need to push in harder and let that, those little particles and stuff
Yeah. Get
flake
scraped
off.
Exactly. Then do that.
To where you are a finite edge, to where you are a precision tool
Yeah.
to be able to reach
Yeah.
even more people at the place where you were reached out to.
Right.
That's that connection point.
Absolutely. One of these days I'll share, because I'm a little bit into knives. I'm not into knives as much as my sons are, but they're
That's not a knife.
That's not a knife. I'm into knives. Primarily, my influence is because of my sons,
Right.
and their influence in that. Al has made knives, and Vince is endeavored in that. Al wants to make. Yeah, he's made some knives, dude.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I love that. I love that.
In fact, my pocket knife that I carry. In fact, when we were up there at Rapid River, I got those that sharpener I showed you guys.
Yeah.
That's Vince's sharpener.
Okay.
I bought those for them because I literally I'll go. Now he keeps it here at the man cave, but I'll literally hand him my knife, my pocket knife or whatever, and I'll go, "Here's my knife."
Right.
I don't want to sharpen this thing. You sharpen this thing. You know what you're doing.
Make it happen, Captain.
Make it happen. But my point is I've got recordings of my grandfather
Right.
talking about sharpening knives and I mean just the depth of it because he used to sharpen knives for the butcher,
Yeah.
right? Back when butchers were much more of a staple in the community.
Absolutely.
You had a relationship with your butcher because
You
everybody
wanted your meat cut a certain way.
well, not just cut a certain way, but it was much more agrarian. The community was much more geared towards farming.
Absolutely.
And so, you had the mining communities and you had the logging communities, and they came back to the farming community to get their meat, and they would.
My grandfather was a meat cutter by trade.
Exactly. And so my grandfather used to sharpen these knives, and so he was like, it was funny. He tells this one story. Grandpa Soika tells the story. He says, I worked all day and I'm doing all this stuff. He's telling me, I come over and I go, Grandpa, what'd you do to your hand? And he goes, kid. And Grandpa was awesome. He's like, I'm working all day in the fucking shop and I'm cutting things and I'm doing all sorts of stuff with my knife and I'm doing it and being careful and everything like that.
Right.
And he says, I put my knife up and put it back in my pocket. And he says, and I reach over and grab a flathead screwdriver and I'm doing this thing and I'm trying to turn this little screw over here and I stab this fucking thing right into my hand. So he was extremely careful with his knife.
Of course.
And then he stabs himself with a screwdriver, and another one he told me, he says this one guy at work, because at a certain point in his life, he transitioned and he was, worked as a federal mine inspector.
Right.
And so he's literally, the one guy says, hey, Paul, you got your pocket knife. And he reaches in and he grabs his pocket knife and he goes to hand it to him and he goes, be careful,
Right.
you know? And he hands him the pocket knife, and he opens it up, and he comes back, I don't know what, 15, 20 minutes later, and he's got 4 or 5 cuts on his hands. He's all bloody. He goes, here's your knife, Paul. And he goes, it's pretty fucking sharp, isn't it? You know? He's like, you got to be careful with it, you know? But
Right.
So iron sharpening iron, what you've got to understand in that dynamic is you can bring that blade, depending on the quality of the blade. That's the other aspect
That's
that I was
another thing,
going
right.
for. And I showed you the Damascus steel on that one, is
Yeah.
the quality of the blade. And Grandpa, I can't remember the company. It's in a recording, and maybe I'll share it at one point. But Grandpa, there was one company that he was dealing with, a knife company.
Yeah.
And he said their blades that they were doing, he said he kept sharpening it, and he'd sharpen it, but then if he made a cut or two, it would dull right up.
Right.
And he said, finally he got to the point where this blade is like half the width of what it used to be because he sharpened it so much.
Right.
And he was an old stone guy. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
He had his stone and his oil, and he would sharpen that
Yep.
with a stone. We've got the little gadgets nowadays, but he would do this stone, and he's sharpening this, and he got to the point where he called the company because it was one of those companies that stood behind their product.
Of course.
And he would send his knife in, they would replace the blade, and he would
Right.
sharpen it. And he said, one of the last few times that I talked to him before he passed away, he says, lo and behold, he says, they came out with a knife right the year after I had raised a little bit of a stink and talked to him about it.
Right.
He said they came out with a knife that had a Teflon, or I think it was a Teflon, but it was a harder side. The blade, the way that they folded it, had a hard, real heavy, hard side on one side and a softer side on the other side, so it would hold an edge. That's what he would say all the time, is holding an edge.
You got to hold that edge.
And so when you're talking about people, talking about life, it's like there's one thing for iron to sharpen iron.
Right.
I think our relationship is that we can come together every couple weeks, a month, or do a phone calls and stuff like that.
Right.
And we can help each other hold an edge
Absolutely.
for a length of time. And then we need to get together and sharpen each other. Not that not for lack of trying.
Right.
I mean, if you live next door, fuck, dude, it's off the hook. But the fact is you don't live there. So it's like we have the relationship, the divine connection to be able to sharpen each other
Right.
in such a way that we hold an edge
Right.
until we see each other again.
Right.
You know? And what that says to me is the quality of the steel, the quality of the iron
Absolutely.
that we've been made. And that makes a huge difference in the dynamic that we have.
And not from a conceited standpoint, but the fact is that, you know, when we've gone through and held that edge and been able to be polished and sharpened in other areas of our life and come back and share that with each other, going, dude, look how fine this edge is now.
Right.
And we're
Right.
going, yes, we're celebrating together. We're celebrating collectively to going, dude, that's a pretty sweet edge.
Right.
How can I do that? How can
Right.
I work towards that? And it's incredible to watch because the more that we engage with that of I'm doing this or I'm having this success or I had this failure, but this led me to this answer and
Yeah.
so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And it's always been incredible with that exchange of you and I of not being conceited and narcissistic, but it's always been that element of that's great. I'm going to celebrate with you, and
Right.
we're going to converse to go, well, I discovered this.
Yeah.
I'm going to share this with you.
Absolutely.
I discovered this. I'm going to share this with you.
Right.
And it's always those, you know, we'll revisit it later down the road or whatever, or maybe at that point in time that we bring that piece of information to each other and go, well, I want to explore that because I've never, you know, explored that type of thing in my life.
Right.
I've heard about it. I've done some of the research, but I don't know enough about it.
Right.
Let's, you know, help me navigate some of this stuff together to go, well, what is podcast?
Yeah. I asked you that question. I was like, Tony, I've done a ton of live streams. I've
Right,
done a lot of
right,
church stuff.
right.
We put it on YouTube. I've done a bunch of videos that I've then edited and put up, and I did all of the stuff myself. In fact, those that have gone on HFTC, you see a
Right.
whole archive of stuff on there, and I go,
Yeah,
and I
there's
still
like
look
8
at you
years
and
of videos.
I go, what the hell's a podcast? Because, you know, it's a different animal.
Right.
So technically, we're doing a podcast right now, even though to me it's just live streaming. But yeah,
Well, it's an engagement with our audience, and that's the thing is I think podcasting is a very wide yet somewhat narrow median of communication because,
Right.
you know, like the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah.
You know, he brings on all these famous people and literally just has a conversation with them.
Absolutely.
Just like we're doing
Beautiful
here.
conversations, yeah.
Very similar
I just,
camera angles
what one's
and
the ones
whatnot.
you just watched? I just watched Ron White, which he's a bit of a trip, but I learned a lot about Ron White and his church background. And
Absolutely.
and then I watched the one I really enjoyed. I enjoyed Ron White, but
Did you watch the Elon Musk one?
I haven't still.
Dude, you seriously
I'm
have to watch that. It's incredible.
I know. The one that I enjoyed even more than that was Ted Nugent, like from last year, 2018.
That was great.
Great.
I love
And-
the one with James Hetfield when he's talking about bees. He's like, wait a minute. You're a fucking heavy metal guy. What are you doing
With bees.
with bees? He's
Yeah.
like, they're vile little bastards.
Yeah.
I had to get rid of a hive because my wife was constantly being tortured because the queen was aggressive. And she taught all these other worker bees and
How do I go after everybody?
drone bees and stuff
Yeah.
to go after her. And he's like, this is insanity. He's like, well, you know, I can't do that because I don't want my wife pissed off. I love my wife, so I got rid of this.
Got rid of him.
And he's like, you're James motherfucking Hatfield.
What are you doing?
What are you
What are you
doing with
doing?
bees?
How you
He's
doing
like,
with
hey, we went
bees,
to
bro?
the little meetings and stuff like that. And, you know, he's like,
Yeah,
oh.
you got to be environmental and all that shit.
It's so funny. He's like, I just like the honey, but he's like, it's fascinating to learn little intricacies of bees in it. And here's James Hetfield,
Right.
you know, this great, you know, persona that he's created, being the lead singer and rhythm guitar player of Metallica.
Right.
But you know, he's geeking about bees, and it's always funny to see someone relate on that. But anyways, I digress with the whole aspect.
We're
of
talking about podcasts.
Right,
What it
but
means to do a
podcasts.
podcast.
But you know, going back to the family element, you
Absolutely.
look at the people that we have exchanged relationships with,
Yeah.
and created these environments, and going, look, your family, Nate's family,
Nate is family.
you know, Becky, Heather, Chris, you, me, Mitch. You know, all of these people that we have worked with in very close quarters and confined spaces, good, bad, and ugly.
Yep.
I mean, there's times that I walk into pre-production with Mitch, and I'm just like, Mitch,
What are we doing?
I'm not feeling it, buddy.
Yeah, you were talking about that.
Let's phone it in. And he's
Yeah.
like,
No.
I've got stuff I got to do, man.
gonna push through this.
We're going to push through this.
Yep.
And it's so funny because every time we finish pre-production, we did a, what was it, a 60-second commercial that
Yep.
took us, I don't know, probably an hour and a half to finalize with the background music and the segue of having a
Dude,
conversation.
you can put so much time into editing. It's crazy.
It is so insane. And
Yeah.
when we got done after that hour and a half or hour and 45 minutes of doing pre-production, he was like, I'm very satisfied with this.
We're done.
And we're done.
Right. Walk away.
And I'm going, let me listen back to it one more time.
Yeah. You're like, let me check.
And I listened to it and I went, wow, for an hour and a half of work, for a 60-second commercial.
Oh, dude, the amount of money that they've spent for a 3-second, 4-second clip in a movie.
Holy shit, man.
I mean, yeah. We'll get into more of that stuff. Tim wanted to ask Robert Mondavi Bourbon Barrel Cabernet Sauvignon.
Really?
Have you ever tried that?
No, I have
I
not.
wrote it down. He said he was asking if you had checked that out. So we're gonna see about.
We're
getting
going to
you-
check that out.
We're gonna check that
Tim
out.
was his name?
Tim. You remember Tim? A few years back, he was connected.
I've
Anyways,
met so many people. Anyways,
Anyways.
thanks, Tim, for the suggestion. I will
yeah, we're
definitely
gonna try
check
that
that
one
out, man. I
Robert
appreciate that.
Mondavi Bourbon Barrel Aged Cabernet Sauvignon. So we're gonna check that.
Sounds
one out.
like it's a whiskey barrel.
Yeah.
That's got
that,
an
would-
interesting
that would be an
aftertaste.
interesting aspect. Yeah. So, but we're talking about family connection. It's very, very vitally important. Cherish the relationships that you have in your life. Cherish the people that are around you.
And cultivate new ones.
Cultivate
Don't be
new
afraid.
ones. Yeah. You know, and work on we always talk about working on yourself. Work on yourself in such a way that you are a blessing and an asset to those around you. And if you're in a place where you just need to get close to those people that in your life that help you,
Absolutely.
then that's what you got to do. Wherever you're at, your station, your place in life, you know, maximize it. And Tony's going to finish off that whole bottle right there.
I think it's
Yeah.
the 2-hour mark where I finished.
It is the 2-hour mark.
This is the
We're
second
gonna,
bottle.
We're gonna, and I didn't bother refill. I've had to use. I haven't
Well,
had
that's
to pee
not
for a while.
okay. Come on.
Well, I gotta pee.
We're abusing responsibly.
But this has been my brain,
Yes.
Mr. Tony Bradley, the #1
Earwig.
Earwig.
Hashtag.
Hashtag earwig.
Pound sign.
Pound sign. The number one earwig in my brain.
Yeah.
And it's been a pleasure for all of you that have joined us and those of you that will tune in later. We thank you. We hope you were encouraged and got something out of this. I love sharing my brain because there's a lot of stuff in there. If I don't get it out, it'll probably explode.
Probably. Don't
So-
forget to like, share, subscribe.
Yep.
Hit that notification bell so the
Yep.
minute we go live.
Yeah, you know.
guys get that notification.
We try to give you like a 10, 15-minute lead-in time
Right.
when we go live, so you got time to get settled and get tuned in. We like to do that countdown, so you got, get your popcorn.
And thanks to all the people that interacted.
Yeah,
in
we
the
got a
chat
ton of
tonight.
chat tonight. It was great.
Go out, tag some people in this, share it on social
Yep,
media.
absolutely.
If you guys like the content, don't be afraid to go through and throw it out there and tag some people and be like, hey, look, these guys had a great 2-hour conversation.
Yep.
Listen to the whole thing because there's probably going to be
There's
something
nuggets
in
in
there
there
for you.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's amazing what people pick up on.
All right.
And then you go, wow. I just kind of glanced over that, didn't think it was a big thing, but you picked
Speaking
up
of
on
that,
it.
before we close down, I
right.
have to give a shout out to my Pepper Potts, Becky.
Becky, yep.
Co-host of the Survivor Girl podcast.
Absolutely. Becky's a sweetheart.
She said the best line from the last live one that we did, talking about love, was the best line was, "It's not like throwing a hot dog down a hallway." So I have to give Becky a shout out for that. Thank you, Pepper Potts. Love you to pieces. You make me a better person.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so with that, I am Jeremy Scott Gibbs, Mr. Tony Bradley, and we are out. And you get to see our new intro, or our new outro.
Outro.
Hit it. Hit it, Nate.
This is my brain.
Dad, that's an egg.
Yeah, that's an egg.
Honey,
Dude,
that's an egg.
seriously,
Yeah,
that's an egg. It's a metaphor.
yeah, but that's an egg.
That's an egg.
All right, Jeremy, I hate to break it to you, that's an egg. I know my brain is not actually an egg, okay? It's a metaphor.
Metaphor or not, that's not your brain.
It's just an egg.
Una cerveza para mí. My egg is my brain.
It's still an egg.
Can I at least have some bacon, maybe some sausage with that egg though?
Oh, I want some bacon.
I don't know, man. I'm not good at this shit.
I want crepes.
Can I
Okay.
have some bacon and pancakes with that egg?
I'll take it with scrambled eggs and cheese.